Okay, let's start with pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Teresa, please take the roll.
Okay, Mayor Jones.
Here.
Horn.
Yes.
Hill.
Here.
Bowen.
Yep.
Barons. Here. Mattson. Here. And Jess.
Here. All right, do we have any additions, or can I get an approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting?
Make a motion to approve the agenda?
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mattson.
Yes.
Bowen.
Yes.
Horn.
Yes.
Keel.
Yes.
Barons.
Yes.
Jazz.
Yes.
All right. With that, we'll move into new business 2025 budget review. We're going to do several things here before we talk to our visitors. So we'll start with review 2025 proposed revenue and tax levy. You want to start?
All right, I will start, yep.
I'll let you start.
So we'll start with the revenues. This is this in your packet that shows the different colors of what we've had in the past and what we're proposing for the budget, upcoming budget for 2025. I don't know, a budget is an estimate of what we anticipate getting in for revenues this year and what paying out for expenses this year. We look at what we've done past years, and then we factor in any changes, whether we know something's gonna change to either increase it or decrease it. It's our best guesstimate, is basically what a budget is. At any time during the year, the city council can change the budget, they can add to it, decrease it. It's a working document, but tonight we're gonna try to put our best guesstimate of what our budget will be for next year with the city. So when I go through the revenues, a lot of it pretty much stays the same because we know from the past, you know, what we can receive on certain things. I'm gonna try to point out just kind of the things that I think, you know, that are changes and would be an interest to you. Ask questions at any time you want to do, but I'll try not to hit everything so we don't prolong this process. But basically, we start out with our revenues. Our two biggest revenue generators are our real estate taxes, which is about 37% of our budget, and sales tax, which is about 35 to 37% of our revenue too. So those are our big revenue generators for the city. Current taxes, those that have been through this process before know that it's calculated as a formula from the state. Basically, the amount that we can request for taxes for this next year is basically what we requested with last year. We factor in the CPI, or the Consumer Price Index, of 3%, or if it's less than that, that's our max, we can go 3%. And then what our Hartford's growth rate is. That's the state formula for figuring out how much taxes you can generate. You take that amount divided by our assessed value of the city, that sets our levy. This year it's a little bit different. We've been contacted by the county, and basically all the cities in Minnehaha County have what they're calling a stored CPI. So it's the same formula, but we are able to capture a little bit more on the CPI because I guess in the past, when we do our, when we get our assessed value from the county, it doesn't factor in the assessments for utilities. That's always after the fact, so there's always a little bit of a dollar difference there. It was never really being tracked by the county before. They've got a new system in place, they've got new people in place, they're tracking it now, and they're gonna let us capture that. So this year we got about 2.2% above the 3% CPI that we could capture for taxes. Now, depending on how we can either incorporate all that extra revenue or tax amount, we could take none of it and carry it over to next year, or we can claim part of it. When you look at the formulas I have in the packet, basically deciding on how much of that 2.2% in extra revenue we decide to take, it's gonna change our levy. So, if you look at this, or I kind of broke it down for you, basically, if we claim none of our stored CPI, our tax levy is actually gonna raise, or actually lower to 5.24%. We're at 5.29 right now for this year. So lowered a little bit. If we claim all of our CPI, so that's getting that extra money, it's gonna actually raise our levy to 5.35%. If we claim just a portion of it, to keep our levy the same, if we claim 0.96%, that'll keep our levy right at 5.29%. I figured our revenues, staff is recommending not raising our levy, keeping it the same, only claiming that portion of the CPI, and then letting the rest of it go into next year. And then next year we can look at it again, see if we want to use, how much of it we want to use and go so forth and so on. So our recommendation is keeping the levy the same, not raising it, not claiming all of that sort of CPI, only a portion of it, keeping it at 5.29%. So that's what I have in front of you in the spreadsheet, is keeping that there. That's the biggest thing to explain, since that's a difference.
Should we hold questions or?
No, you can ask questions.
Okay, so just so that I make sure I fully understand, the levy is just the total amount of debt that we can take on.
Really, it's what we can
And so that's
request
just
for
a
tax.
multiplier
Yep,
that we're using, okay.
basically.
Is there any concern that the CPI fund would go away, that there would be any reason that we would not be able to get that next year if we chose not to take it this year?
That stored CPI, when I've talked to the county, they says whatever we don't take this year, it'll carry over into next year. And it sounds like they will do that for 3 years in a row for us.
So in 3 years, it's.
It will go away if we don't use it all, yes. But we got 3 years to use it up.
Okay, thank you.
What's the disadvantage of taking the CPI?
Taking all of it.
Yeah, what's the disadvantage?
So taking all of it, if you take.
Which
the
would
full-
raise the mill levy,
I'm gonna say, it'll generate more tax revenue for us, but it'll raise the mill levy. Yep,
which in return raises taxes.
Yes,
for-
exactly.
right? Okay.
yep. Okay, like I said, our second biggest generator is sales tax, that first and second penny sales tax that we get. I am factoring in about a 12% increase for the first and second penny. We are running a little bit ahead this year. Hopefully that holds true. Keep in mind with this, we've talked a little bit about IM 28. It's that tax on the consumables, the grocery tax. If that does pass, that sales tax will be reduced, so we will lose revenue there, so.
So, I just wanna throw this out, not that I'm saying that we should do this, but I almost wonder if we should not factor in our increase based on the fact that I would rather have us be pleasantly surprised and have additional money than have to scramble and start cutting stuff if IM 28 happens to pass.
Yep, and we can do that. We could hold it off of what we're on budget for this year and not increase it any. Like I said, that does give us a little bit of cushion that if that does pass.
How much is it?
So this year, for each of them, it's 820,800, and next year I'm proposing 920,000.
That's the first and second penny on page 1 of revenue?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
so we would actually reduce our revenue, budgeted revenue by 200,000 if we go back to last year's
Yep.
number. and don't
Approximately,
factor
yep.
That's what I was looking for, was
That's the
impact
best.
would have been a better way
Yeah.
to ask.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yep.
And so Mayor, what's your question is if we should factor in worst case scenario?
that. Which would mean we would leave our budgeted revenue the same as it is this year, not factor in a 12% increase. And then if IM 28 does not pass, then our revenue is gonna look more positive next year.
And if it does pass, then 12%
Would
would be.
it'd be close. It may be, based on the estimates we've seen, that would probably be pretty close to covering
Yeah, I
us.
think we're thinking like 200 to 250,000 are rough.
Yeah, that's worst
calculations.
case scenario. I mean, just for
Yeah.
broader context for the audience, that it's an initiated measure. And I know council people are sick of me saying this, but I want to give a balanced view to initiated measure 28. And I'm not a fan of it, by the way, but it's an initiated measure so the state legislator can have a large impact on what they choose to consider as consumable goods. So what you hear from the IM 28 pro side and a lot of the lobbying groups reaching out to counselors and all that, you're hearing worst case scenario, just so we're clear on that. And I wanna bring a balanced view to that. But I do agree that we should prepare for worst case scenario. You know, assuming if we lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, I think it's,
What are we on track for to add to reserves for this year?
With this year to add to reserves,
We're running ahead of budget.
one of our sheets down here. So right now, we're about 4.7 million in our cash reserves for the general. We estimate about another 1.5 million coming in. Basically, by the end of the year, we should have just a little over 4 million in reserves at the end of the year. We're sitting at. So our reserves are sitting,
What was our budgeted revenue, sorry, compared to what we are on track for? So I see budgeted. I'm trying to find out if we're gonna have left over this year, if we're gonna add to our reserve this year based on your projections.
Or are we gonna overspend our budget from last year? I think that's what.
that's it, yeah.
right.
That's the question.
And we're not. When we get to the fund balances, you'll see, what we project to still come in, what we project to go out. What we project to come in is gonna be more than what we project to go out,
So
so.
we have 200,000 extra going in this year to reserves probably at the
Yeah,
end
pretty
of the
much,
year.
yep, 2, 3, 4, 5.
At
Yep, about
least
200,
200.
yep, exactly.
Assuming a snowfall doesn't break down or something.
Reserves are for.
Yeah.
So,
My problem,
What's that?
the revenue is only 6 pages, but the expenses are 12.
yes, that.
There's the problem.
Anything
Well,
below
there
6
are
is
all
out.
zeros in there though. So,
All
so
right.
kind of keep going.
Yep.
And yeah, that's definitely something to think about with the sales tax, whatever you guys wanna do there. Another kind of biggest change or dollar amount difference is under state grants. We anticipate every year we usually get a little bit for a mosquito grant, but I did factor in, we are applying for that transportation alternative grant. There's a typo, it says 60% of 600,000, it's 80%. The figure on is actually right, just my typo when the explanation is wrong. So, added that in, because hopefully we get that. If we get that, of course, we'll do the project and there'll be more expense side. If we don't get it, then it's just a wash. I mean, it doesn't make much of a difference. And the rest of in the general fund, as far as revenues coming in, they're pretty standard. Just to let you know, bank interest, for our index money account, I did raise that up because we are in that new account we've opened up, we're getting a pretty good interest rate, so that I jumped up to just to figure what we're getting right now. So that's is a pretty decent increase. All the rest of them are pretty much on track of what we anticipate this year to be. The next fund we got is, have any revenue coming in, is the third penny sales tax. That is actually, right now, running just a little bit lower than what we anticipated for this year. If you look on the sales tax report, hopefully maybe that'll jump up by the end of the year, but there's no guarantees. So I actually lowered that a little bit just to think, because I do not know of any other business that's coming in into next year that will generate more for the third penny sales tax, so just trying to be conservative on that. After the third penny sales tax, there's the debt service fund, and basically this is the TIF fund. So the revenue coming in here is what we're getting off of our first TIF out there. We actually pay all that expense out on the back side, so it's an in and an out, so there's nothing generated one way or the other on that. After that, we have our project funds, our wastewater treatment facility. Of course, we have some revenue coming in for that. We got some reserves. What we anticipate at the end of this year, we'll have a little bit of loan funds from our first SRF still left. And then, of course, we'll have our second SRF loan that we'll be getting in. So that's the revenue that is going to fund that project for next year. And then, of course, obviously a little bit of interest with that. The next fund we've got is our Western Avenue Fund. Factored into there, we talked about how we're gonna finance this. There's the $3 million sales tax bond, $300,000 that we got from the Reed loan. And then in grants, hopefully, and no guarantee we got this, but hopefully we're anticipating getting a community access grant. That's $600,000, we get 80% of that, because we gotta fund 20% of that, and then we'll interest. So that's the revenue we're getting in for that project. Our next fund, water fund, not too many changes in that. I guess the biggest uptick in that is that every year we have an ordinance, we increase our, what we charge for our rates, 2%. So that's obviously gonna be more in metered sales, so that's probably the biggest change there. In our sewer fund, we do the very same thing. In our ordinance, we charge 2% every year just for increasing costs. That's figured in there. You'll also notice though in our sewer fund, the two new revenue sources we have are gonna be, the surcharges we are generating on those SRF loans. So we got one already in the works with the first loan that we've taken out right now. We will be implementing our second loan next year, so that will mean a second surcharge. So that's revenue for those surcharges coming in, but they'll be paying the loan on the backside. And that's basically kind of the big changes in the revenue. Any more questions on them? Discussion?
What's the, when was the 2% for the water and sewer? What does that cover, so it's 2% increase in what we
So
sell?
our base rate goes up 2% every year, and that's been in place ever since I've been with the city. It's in ordinance. Basically, as you know, every year, costs increase or whatnot, is kind of help cover a little bit of that. Kind of just in context, you know, we're raising our water rates 2% each year. Rural Water raised their rates that they're charging us 14% this year, or next year. This year, they raised it 15%, so we're not staying in pace with that, you know, but.
All right,
Not to beat a dead horse, but back to that CPI real quick. Say it's 2.2% every year. We don't take it out.
And I'll tell you, I don't think it's gonna be 2.2% every year, because they went back a few years and calculated what we have, so it's gonna be pretty big this year. Now, all the difference we're gonna have going forward is just that assessed value on utility, so it's gonna be smaller future
Okay,
years
okay.
coming up.
so this is kind of a catch-up.
This is a catch-up,
Yeah,
yes, this is a catch-up
yeah.
year.
So let's just say it is 2% though, just for even numbers.
Okay, yep.
So after 3 years, it's 6%. At that point, use it or lose it. What does our mill levy do at that point? Does that mean if we take that money, then mill levy goes down or up?
Well, the mill levy will go up,
It'll
because
go up,
that's,
okay.
yeah, we're capturing
Gotcha.
more revenue,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. Just wanna make sure, so.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And what it is I think, you know, say we have 2% this year, 2% the next year, then the third year. Going in that fourth year, you'll probably lose that last 2%, you know, it'll drop off the last year, from what I understand how the county's explained it to me, so,
Okay.
yeah.
And we got to be aware of our mill levy, because that's always been the thing with Hartford. Our mill levy's always been high in comparison to some of the other communities, and we don't want to, we want to try to continue to keep going at the trend we are, which is drop it every year, or lessen it as much as we possibly can by the calculation.
I think, you know, being able to keep our mill levy the same and not raise it, we can capture a portion of it. We can generate as much money as we can without raising the mill levy, and we're still able to carry over what we haven't used to factor into, you know, future years.
Where's the person finding that? Is that on this county's website?
The mill levies for everybody? Yep, it would be under, yep, their equalization. They always publish that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there it is.
You got some comparisons there, Troy? Is that a curiosity?
Yeah, Hartford's at 5.29. Next closest is Colton at 5.21. Valley Springs is at 4. And then it drops into the threes. Kirk's is at 2.
Yeah.
Baltic's 2.4, Brandon 2.9.
What does it show for Sioux Falls?
3.6.
Oh, I said, they're gonna be low. They can spread that, they got a big tax base to spread that over.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, I mean, at our highest point, we were over 8% at one point, but I think
Right.
since 2009, we've slowly kind of whittled away at that, and I think we want to keep on track.
School levies is a fun one to look at.
The schools is-
10%. T's at 8.5. Most of the get to 8.5. Most of our neighbors are at 6%, 6 point something. On the ag side, owner occupied is a little different.
Yeah. All right. What else you wanna give us, Teresa, for info?
That kind of is the revenues. So if you don't have any more questions on that, we'll go through the expenses.
I think we're good. Let's look at them for a second. All right,
Ready for expenses?
you bet.
Okay. As everybody knows, expenses have increased through the years, and we have more amenities, we have more territory to cover, more streets. Obviously, our expenses have gone up too. So, in the general fund, basically just want to point out, throughout this, salaries, I have basically kind of calculated what 2024 should generate for salaries and added 4%. Once again, that's at council discretion whether you pay that out or not, but that's what I figured for this budget. So that's kind of the changes in salaries that you see in there. Basically for the council pay and the mayor's pay, just factored in a slight increase. We've talked a little bit about raising that. Once again, that's up to your discretion as well, so I just factored a little bit into that. When we get down to the finance office, past salaries, I also do want to point out for every department, we have insurance that covers it. Our insurance, we were just a little bit over a few dollars in every department. So I took what this year's was and I factored in 5% increase for next year. I'm hoping that'll cover it. Insurance has kind of been jumping up too, but wanted to say that's what we did for insurance. One of the big jumps it's going to be, and it's going to be this year too, is for our IT service. You guys know we had to change IT companies. All of them were a much higher rate than what we previously were factoring in, so that's a big jump up there. Also in our finance office, just want to let you know, on utilities, we've hired Winnow, so we have an extra cell phone there. That was just a little jump, but it was just something different, so I wanted to point that out to you. Under government buildings, changes there, professional services, that has jumped up and it's gonna be this year as well, and that's mainly because of cleaning services over at the Gage House. Under our contract with them, they gotta get cleaned once a week, and that's the cost of it. City Hall, we do twice a month, but that's once a week, and they charge more for that area, that whole thing. So that's kind of a big jump of that. Repairs and maintenance, we jumped that up once again. We're finding more repairs needed on the city buildings. A lot of that's taken over the Gage House, even this facility. I mean, we've got older buildings, so repair costs are up. And then did figure in a little bit extra under furniture and equipment. We've talked about Gage House needing a dishwasher. We did not factor in a professional grade or commercial grade one because they don't do any cooking over there, but we figure we can replace it with, you know, just a regular dishwasher. If we look at a professional grade one, I'm hoping we can look into some grants. I would think like AARP and a few other places that have some grants out there. So we'll look at that road first, but we only put basically, for now, 2,000 in there. I also do want to point out that when we do the new sports complex concession stand, we talked staff internally about we probably want to put 1 or 2 cameras out there, and so we factored in a little bit with that because there will be stuff being stored there. You may have different people in that building or whatnot. I think we do want to monitor that some, so we're going to add a couple cameras. We have an Arlo camera at the dump site now, probably would add that on to our Verizon contract too. That's what we figured into there, so did you know that? Sirens, police administration have pretty much stayed the same. I mean, police administration, basically contract, we have received our budget from the county. Their services are going up, and they usually do increase it every year, it's going up about 3%. That is the number they said our contract will be next year if we stay up to 100 hours for nights and weekends a week. So that's factored in. And then, of course, the other one is the daytime deputy, and that's Deputy Cardis being here Monday through Friday during the daytime. And we cover his salary, so that's figuring a 3% increase in the salary, and that's per their contract, negotiated contract. so we should get pretty close to that. Under the fire department, the only dollar amount in there is that $80,000 that we are under contract when we built the fire station. Part of getting the loan was that we have to pay $80,000 for them to pay their loan. The city guaranteed that, so by contract, we have to have it in there. The other items are gonna be requests from other entities coming in. That's why they are to be determined. It'll be up to you guys of what you wanna fund for that. Streets and highways, professional services, I just wanna point this out. I did add in, some money to engineer reconstructing Rood Lane and Diamond Trail. That intersection's kind of falling apart. We did slurry seal it this year to hopefully last a little bit longer. But we do have in our CIP, basically an amount for engineering to get that engineered and hopefully fix that the following year. So I did that in, since that was in our CIP, and it's gonna need to be done. Also rentals, we upped that, talking with Craig, he would like to, rent a payloader, basically for snow removal December through March. And so he looked up a price for that, that's, we figured into budget there. You'll notice, there's another line for chip sealing Minnehaha County. That's the dollar amount that we agreed to pay to Minnehaha County for chip sealing Western, so we added that into the budget. And then, mosquito control. Usually, we have a few, chemicals or products left over going into the next year that we have a supply we can tap into. This year, we've upped our spraying, as you all know, because of the flooding and the problem we've had with mosquitoes, so we're not gonna have any supplies going into next year, so we did up that a little bit as well, so we can cover next year. Transit, that is the fee that we pay for ICAP for managing our transit bus system. That is not gonna change from this year to next year. Animal control, that's what we pay out to Sioux Falls Humane Society. I don't expect too much change in that. Swimming pool, basically, I just wanna talk a little bit about our utilities. I didn't up that too much. I'm hoping we will find the leak we have, we will get it fixed. Kind of like what we've done the last 2 years, we've done that, we found the leak, but then another thing has popped up. So I'm kind of keeping that cost up there, thinking that we will still have to pay out some utilities until we find a more permanent solution, whether it's a total reconstruction of our lines, or if it's a new pool, or whatever that long-term solution is. So I'm gonna point that out. And then also with the pool, basically that furniture and equipment number is up there. As you know, our heater went out on us, and that's $32,000, so had to add that into the budget.
That's installed, and that's what it costs to buy it and to have it installed? Or did we install it?
I think Neil had it figured with a little bit of money for installation, like doing the gas line and the
I
power.
would say the piping I know is included in there and whatnot, so.
Okay.
I think the unit itself was right around 30,000.
I thought it was a wood burner, Craig.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. No big change.
The pickleball court is.
There we go, that's right there.
So we're saving it. Firewood.
No big changes to our recreation program. That's, our summer program there that we do for, through the month, usually in July for the kids. Parks, kind of just changes to point out. Under repairs and maintenance, I do want to put up, we added a 20,000 into that to do some cleanup of the creek area, and that's basically to dig out kind of some of the silk that came in during this last flooding, just to make sure we get the flow going there. So there's a $20,000 expense in there that we'll need to be doing.
Where is that? Yeah, I've not seen that.
Under repairs and maintenance?
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
whereabouts are we digging
Oh,
out?
pretty much from Fighter, the one through it there, so over to the east. There was some silt and taken care of in place here.
What's that for again? Little Creek?
To basically,
Really?
Turtle Creek to kind of dig out what's silted in so it
Okay.
can get better flow again.
Got it.
It's under repairs and maintenance, see it?
How many permits do we have to apply for to get that done?
It's usually not too bad as long as we just are cleaning the bottom of the creek and we're not doing any extra excavation like that, and then we just have to haul it out of that site.
We do have to file for a permit with FEMA, but they usually let you do maintenance as long as you're not.
We've done it in the past.
Sure, sounds good.
Yep. Utilities, no huge change in that. I just wanna point out, I added an expense, that monthly camera service expense in there, so just to point that out. And then under machine equipment, that, figure is higher too, is because we had a mower go down and we figured in put a replacement mower. We're not adding to the fleet an extra mower, it's replacing, one that we had break down or went bad this year, so it'd be keeping the same number of mowers and being able to replace that.
Is that every year we need to buy a budget for any more?
Most of them-
Most of them are, I mean, I think we did one last year, and then it's been a few years again, so I think this one here is probably 6 years old. They get a lot of hours on them.
Oh, I know.
We do use them a lot. The next changes, just wanna point out, under planning and zoning, professional service, that amount is up. I talked with our engineers, this is for engineering services, basically, or what we call the force account, when they review plans or development plans or whatnot, it's not related to a specific project. Just because we have increased development and projects going on, they anticipate that amount to be higher. So this year, I think we anticipate 40,000, they're thinking about 60,000, so that's an increase there as well. Otherwise, the
Who
rec.
gave that estimate? Was that the engineering firm gave that?
ISG gave us that. I asked, I said, what do you anticipate for your force account services? And yeah, that's what they gave me, so. And the last thing I want to point out in the general fund is if you'll notice, in our debt service, you'll notice at the very bottom of that, there are 2 more new loans, and that is for starting to repay, on the bond that we're gonna take out for Western Avenue and for the REIT loan, because we'll complete those projects here next year, so we'll start payments on them. So just let you know that's the loan payments for those 2 new loans. Otherwise, if we go down to, debt services, I just wanna point that out with that tip, you know, we have revenue coming in for the tip, we're gonna pay the same amount going out, because whatever you have coming in, we've gotta pay the bank loan, so that's an in and an out, just like I said before. The next fund, wastewater facility project, basically just those expenses are gonna be covered under our SRF loan, like we pointed out earlier in the revenue. When you get to Western Avenue, that's probably our other big project for next year. Those are the expenses that the engineers have estimated for that, and once again, we went through the funding sources for that amount as well. With the water fund, under professional services, that has increased too. And this you can either keep in or take out, but their engineers have recommended, ISG has recommended that we do a water study. They estimate that at about 25,000. The last water study we did for the city, and this is evaluating our water piping system, the water tower capacity, all that. Our last study was done in 2007. So it's literally been over 15 years,
So
17
what
years.
is that? What does that do?
Basically, they'll do a study, they'll basically, compute, how big our water tower is and do we have the capacity for future years. They'll kind of tell us when we need to upgrade at one point. They'll also evaluate all of the water piping that we have through the city, make sure that we got the right size pipes where they need to be, seeing where we might have to look at upsizing. It'll just kind of be able to set us up, they'll do a study to set us up to know when we need to upgrade and where we need to upgrade, basically for future development and improvements. Like I said, our last study was done in 2007, and we've changed quite a bit since then. So definitely think that we need to keep that in there and to look at doing that. I mentioned this, purchase of the water that we're purchasing from Rural Water, that has increased 14%, so that expense is factored in there. And then just to point out, under dues, I do have them out, we talked about, the dues that we're gonna need to be paying for Dakota Main Stem, so that's added into the budget as well. Also under administration and general professional services, I just want to point out that that has increased a little bit. We got word from Banyan, which is our billing system for water and sewer, that their services are increasing, so that's why I bumped that up a little bit. Water deposits, it really depends. This is basically the deposits that we refund back to customers, you know, if they move in or out of the city. It really depends on how many people open an account, close an account, so that's kind of, we just kind of go off of previous years. Usually that keeps us on track. I do want to point out underwater, the debt service, we will be taking on a new loan there as well. That's the SRF loan that we're doing for the 38 water loops, so we will have that loan payment too next year. Under sewer, if you look on the debt service there, we will have 2 more new loan payments there as well. One for the SRF loans that we're doing for the wastewater plant. Those loans, though, will be repaid with the sewer surcharges that we are implementing. So just want to point out, though, we anticipate that project to be done next year, so we will have to start paying on it, those loans. Under the sewer general, want to point out, you know, there are some new categories under the sewer account because we do anticipate the new water treatment facility being up and running. So there will be extra utilities there, there'll be extra supplies there. We have talked, we are gonna need an operator out there. I have basically been talking with Rachel at ISG, she helped provide these numbers to me. They did basically when they were doing all their analysis of the plant, they had done a cost estimate of what it would cost to run it. So these are the numbers coming from them. But you'll notice we do have an amount figured in there for an operator for that plant, a new personnel to hire. We think probably we'd have to cover that for 8 months. I mean, we don't have to hire them right away in the beginning of the year, but I think we do want to have them on by April, May, you know, to get them up and going and start the training, and they actually get familiar with the plant before we actually are starting operations, so.
That number in there, that's just a base salary number, isn't it? So that's not benefits, that's not phone.
That's what we pay for salary, yeah, it's not a phone added in, you know. I do have under taxes and retirement, that portion of that salary figured in there, so I mean, those would be covered, whatnot.
OASI, retirement insurance, those are all affiliated with that.
Right, exactly,
gotcha.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, because we figure on all the salaries,
Yep.
so it's all affiliated with that, yep.
Do we need to allocate some funds for like a headhunter or a finder, somebody to help us source that individual?
Or possibly, like you know, having an operator that's got their class for 3 is pretty hard to find. So, I do not have any of that in here, so you might
Yeah,
wanna think about
we
that.
just advertise in the Argus Leader, we're gonna do this.
I would do a pro bono for the city. No, I'm serious, yeah.
Perfect,
Look what he's doing, he's giving away money.
perfect.
We're recording, right?
Well,
Yeah, we are.
Sign Jake, though.
Jake, you got a research project.
He's gonna tiptoe into a whole new area. That's what he's gonna do.
So those are kind of the big differences that I wanted to point out.
Okay?
Do you guys have any questions in there, comments?
I'm sure we will at some point.
I'm sure we will, be talking about more and more, but.
So the lagoon remediation, there,
Oh.
part of that 132,000.
Like I said, they want
Is that under professional services, Travis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that just some engineering to figure out
Yes.
what it's gonna take
Yes.
to remediate those?
Yeah, because if you look at our CIP, there's,
Yeah.
the following year is gonna be the big chunk of money. This is basically engineering to figure out the services and whatnot, and that's in our CIP for next year. The actual doing of it is gonna be in 2026, that cost.
We anticipate our repairs and maintenances are gonna triple in expense for sewer general from 5,000 to 15 budget.
Yes, and I talked this over with Craig. Basically, this year, we're running higher because we had some blowers go out, and repairs on our lift stations.
Yep.
They're all old, about that same age. If we have, you know, we've gotta keep the system going until we get on our new one. So if we run into those same problems this coming year, we're gonna need something in budget to cover
Sure.
them.
We have that.
Like I said, they will be pleasantly surprised and we'll keep working, but
Yeah,
in case
I mean,
they
you
don't.
move a little bit around, you take 6,000 out of supplies and materials.
Right.
Because we had that VFD, that was about 10,000 by itself.
Yeah, yeah.
If that one went, next year another one might go.
Yeah.
And we have to keep this up and running until we are ready to mitigate. those.
Switch, yeah, completely switch.
And like I said, this is, until we get our new plant up and going, I mean, this is kind of a guesstimate of what it's really gonna, it's our best guesstimate. Once we get the new plant up and going, that we'll have a better understanding of what the costs are gonna be with operating that. And this may be high in this end because we're gonna be running two systems for a while too. Even when we get that up and going, say this summer or next fall, we still need to keep our lagoons in operation until we can remitigate them. So, I mean, you're gonna have double costs for a while. So I don't think it's gonna be a ongoing thing once we get, the lagoons taken care of, but for a couple of years in here, it might be.
We don't have a lawnmower in there. Not at the sewer plant. Don't need it.
Eventually.
I'm gonna say, don't get my deal, you can see
Eventually,
them
we
thinking.
probably won't have grass next year yet.
Right.
I thought we're turfing that.
AstroTurf, it depends on how good the catch is. Got it, okay. No, it was a serious question, like, you gotta maintain that out there, it's a lot of ground, I didn't know if the new tractor.
Yep.
We've been mowing with that right now.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're gonna have probably nice grass around there, and you'll end up having to mow out there.
Yeah.
We should look at doing an eco-friendly landscaping, like, clover grass, like just something that is low growing and, I mean, it's in the country, right? Like, why do we need to mow it all the time?
Yeah.
Right. It'd be kind of silly.
Yeah.
If we could find a good alternative
Yeah,
to just
get that
grass.
approved, I'll put it in my boulevard. If we get that approved, I'll put it in my boulevard.
Right
All right,
after
well,
the
slippery
sidewalks.
slopes, right? But
All right, what do you got next, Teresa?
Next in your packet is our cash balance report, and basically I'm just throwing this in, and you get this every month with the bank balances in your box system, but just shows you where we're sitting at for cash as of right now. We're fairly healthy between the general fund, so, just wanted you to be aware of that for reference. The next item that you have in there, I do want to let you know that there are some funds that the city has committed to. With our fire department, we have basically budgeted funds to put away for an equipment replacement fund that we've been kind of adding to every year. At some point, when they buy like a new fire truck, they will come and ask for that those funds be released to them. So they're committed, we can't spend them, so basically there's about 205,000 committed for that. And we did put 100,000 a couple of years ago for future pool fund. We haven't done anything with it. Our thinking back then, I think when we put in the budget, is that it would help pay maybe some studies or a little bit of engineering to figure out, what we can do, maybe what the costs are gonna be. We haven't done anything with that at this point, so those funds are still sitting there because they were committed though. The next sheet in your packet is our sales tax revenue, and you get this every month as well, but I just wanted to make you aware. As you can see, our first and second penny sales tax, it is up about 100,000 right now. But if you look at our third penny sales tax, we're down a little bit. So, like I said, I hope that trend doesn't continue, but that is where we're sitting at for sales tax. And then we get to our debt schedule, and I want to put this in here just for your reference. And I do have an updated one that I put on the desk. The one that was in the packet, talked with Art and agreed. The payoff date, it was kind of unclear. The term of the loan and when we actually pay it off. So we added another column that shows the actual payoff date. So then you can see what loans we will get paid off and what year. And then the ones in red are the loans that we are adding to our debt service. And right now, with the new loans that we will be adding, our debt capacity, we're at 43.85%. So we're using up almost half of our debt capacity with the current loans that we have. You will notice though, one of them's gonna get paid off, December, January, we're gonna have two of them paid off, but unfortunately, we're taking on, 3 more. The two on the bottom, those SRF bonds, those are the ones that are committed with the surcharge that we're putting on the residents. Those don't account towards our debt limit, so that's why they're separate there. But just wanted to give you a snapshot of what we have for loans when the payouts are gonna be for them, and then what we're adding to them.
Paying off the 2015 sales tax bond on the Diamond Trail.
Yep.
And then,
And then the land for the wastewater treatment facility, we're gonna be,
that pays off in December.
yeah. So, you know, we'll be getting rid of about, almost 150,000 in loan payments, or we're taking on almost 300,000, so.
That didn't work out very well.
No, we're going back. But the good news is that we still do have debt capacity left, if need be. I should explain maybe to the new ones on there, you'll see on the far right, you see a 5% balance, and then you see added 10%. Basically, the 5% are loans that the city can take out just on our own. If you wanna take an extra 5% to go up to that 10%, that requires a vote of the people. So really, we have one loan that basically way back when was done that way. That's more or less when you take out a general obligation bond, you need a vote of the people. But it does raise your debt capacity, or you know, what you can loan out, just to be aware of that.
All right,
Okay. Next, in your packet, just want to briefly touch on our CIP, our capital improvement plan. If you go down, basically, to page 19, kind of just list our projects. That kind of gives you a synopsis of what projects we plan for what years. For 2025, basically, all the projects listed, except for Kelly Avenue, I figured into the budget, because that's what we're anticipating to do. I did not figure in Kelly Avenue, because we've been kind of nursing that one along. Do we need to redo it at this time? Do we not? Something that we could push off maybe for a year or two, but that, well, I want that to be a discussion about considerations from the council, so. But otherwise, you know, the water treatment facility is in there, Western Avenue is in there. The Swenson Park Road, that is not in what I presented to you, but it's gonna be a consideration that the park board's gonna ask you about. And then the lagoon remediation is in there, and the Root and Diamond intersection, so.
and really, the number up at the top of 12th Street was covered by the grant that we got for, 12th Street was covered by the grant.
Yeah, I mean, when
So-
we have to pay 240,000, that's
Yeah.
cheap for a street, couple streets,
Yeah.
so. Yeah, luckily we got those two grants, because that was great. And then we don't have to pay those back. But you will see, you know, future years, 2026, you know, the actual cost of that lagoon remediation, the $1.5 million. Couple of street projects, 2027.
Am I seeing this correctly, where it says public workshop in 2027, 8 million? Is that a typo?
No. And that probably will be more discussion down the road.
Oh, that might
Because
not
we
make
need to
it
figure out
past
where we need to
tonight.
put it too. Now, these are all engineer estimates, so.
It's only $350 dollars per square foot.
I think,
Shop at 8 million?
Yeah,
It's
I
a pretty
don't,
nice shop, let's just say.
yeah, like I said, these are engineer estimates. Sometimes they figure high. We'll see what we end up with, but it's just, to be aware of that.
But if you want to really get a snapshot of what's going to happen in the next 10 years, scroll down to the bottom where it has yearly totals and look over to the end. And see that number that says 49,635,000. That's the number.
That's a scary number,
You're
yeah.
getting scared. Look at that number.
Yes, it takes a lot of money to keep up infrastructure up and going.
Because if, that's assuming we take over Western Avenue completely, that's a $28 million project to change that road and make it 3-lane,
Yep,
turning lanes all the way.
yep, and
That'll be.
Let's give the land back to the county.
That'll be the next thing.
All the properties up there, the county can have all.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep moving so we can talk to these fine people that
Yep,
have been
we're
sending
getting
invitations.
close. Basically, I also put in your packet our community development plan, just for reference, we don't talk about it too much, you know, we had ISG do it. Don't have anything in particular to point out, you know, we had them come in, basically look at the city, they did a lot of focus groups of what could we do in this area of town, what could we do there, whatnot. We do wanna try and reference it, cause we did get input from the community. It gives you a synopsis of, you know, like I said, what can we do here, what can we do there? I don't know if there's any questions on it or any comments on it, but I just want to keep it out in front of you guys.
There's probably one big update, and we should probably talk with ISG next time we get a chance, because that whole section down by Nicholson Road going south toward the lagoons, they had all that really nice development in there, and that land, half that land.
Like I said, that's the end of school, yeah,
So, that's gonna change that
yeah.
scenery right across from my place. Anybody cares?
And you did pick up line right outside your door.
Hey, that school bus line right there. All right,
Okay. That brings us down, let's see, make sure I'm doing this right, capital improvement community development. Oh, for our anticipated fund balances, so, the next sheet, basically, I wanted to basically let you know, this is how I figured what we'll have at the end of this year. It started off of where we're at with our cash balance right now in July. I factored in what we have yet to get in for revenue, what we have yet to pay out for expenses. I did have to factor in, you know, some of our committed funds, because we can't spend those and take that out of it. But basically, the highlighted yellow is where those funds will end up. Like I said, we'll be a little over 4 million for the general fund, so that's a healthy reserve, I'm happy with that. Third penny, we'll have about 256,000. Water fund will be about 1.3 million, and the sewer fund, 1.5 million. So that's where we anticipate to end the year with in our reserves.
Out of curiosity, on that third penny fund, when I was looking at the numbers from this year, the projected numbers, it was about a $500,000 difference.
Can you read that again, please?
It was up above the, sorry, I've got 232 pages here.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So
You're talking
the
about South
projected, you said the third penny fund, sorry, I'm going back just a little, the third penny fund for projected for 2025 is projected to be much.
Not much, a little bit lower, I think I
I
have.
must-
How much? Couple thousand.
Oh, okay, I was
Yeah.
looking at the wrong.
No, I was gonna say, I didn't take any big things, it's
Okay.
down just a little bit, not 100,000 it's down right now. I'm just anticipating if we do. I don't see any big dips, but like I said, I don't know any anticipated businesses that will generate more revenue
Yep.
to it, I guess. So I was looking at the trend for this year.
Okay.
all right.
If we can get into requests now.
All right, can we flip-flop this and move the city down and let these guys?
We have any requests yet?
Yeah, we can. We don't have many, but we can flip-flop it.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter to me.
is that all right?
We good?
Hold on here, I'm trying to scroll ahead.
What page are?
6,522 is where that
That
starts.
community plan takes up a lot.
No, it's not that.
Keep scrolling. Keep scrolling.
It wasn't 6,532. Everybody's trying to scroll at the same time and they all freeze. So we're gonna start with the visitors and other entities. That's kind of a. Let's see who we have up here first. Yeah, which one am I grading? Oh yeah, I'm getting close. I don't know if it's Or could it just be
Can I help?
live
Park
roads?
board?
What's that, park board?
Park board?
Timmy,
Sounds good to me.
It's the park board, yeah.
All right. So we have a list of probably 20 things on here that we're kind of looking through for the next 5 years and always looking at pricing and what we're doing and trying to move things around. It's kind of a rolling thing, picking what we feel is the most pertinent to us. And sometimes those change even like a week before this meeting. So the first thing that we're going to suggest to you guys is adding additional parking out in the Swenson Park area. If you go there, like on flag football nights or softball nights, you know, we can find 200, 250 cars. They're parked in the grass. They're kind of all over. And additionally, we've got nice fields and nice complexes out there, but they're awfully underutilized because access is restricted. So if you're on the north and east sides, it's kind of tough to get there. So what we're suggesting is adding around the north side of the ball fields an extension of the parking lot, and that kind of rolls in with where the flag football fields are as well. And how did I discuss the pricing with you guys too? Throw that out there. Do we want to give you a report? How do you guys want to do that?
It's on here too.
It's on
Yeah.
the
Oh,
website.
oh, yeah, correct. So, yeah.
They got-
So that's why that's kind of the top of our list there. And then the next thing out at Swenson Park is the ball fields that are there. We would like to incorporate some shade structures, bleachers, concrete, foul poles, kind of around all 4 fields. Kind of emulating if you're on 12th Street and go to softball diamonds, they got a lot of shade structures, a lot of concrete. It's really nice, especially out there. There's really nothing, no trees or anything to protect people from the sun. So just a good idea. Again, if we're trying to bring softball tournaments or that sort of stuff in, it kind of rolls all together. Moving down the line at Swenson Park again, we were able to capture the elementary school's playground equipment, and they gave that to us, but it's a little bit it's old. You know, it doesn't look that old, but I think it's probably close to 30 years old is what they said. The manufacturer's still around. They still make the same playground equipment. So we're looking for $10,000 to help us, you know, get concrete in the ground, get footings, and then some miscellaneous repairs. There's some safety issues on a couple of the things. One of the things is like a ladder that's made out of chains and bars, and a couple other things that are rusted or missing. So we're just looking for a little bit there to bring that up to snuff, make sure it's safe, and then have that out there. So when you have sporting events, you have a place for kids to go that's safe and not, you know, running through black tie or fields. So. Moving down from there, we're going to go to the pickleball courts. There is a restroom right outside the pickleball courts that's currently, I don't know if it's condemned or what the technical term is, but it's locked year round, it's unusable. So we thought it'd be a really good idea to throw a bathroom there. We know there is a nice bathroom over by the softball fields, but oftentimes you see even people with children are always going to that bathroom and trying to open the doors and they can't get in. So it just adds access for both the pickleball area and the park, both. Down from there, again with the pickleball court, we're kind of in phase 1 of a multi-phase process here on these pickleball courts. So we just got the first set of courts done, and we're looking to just continually add to the courts. It's the fastest growing sport in America right now, so it's gaining a lot of traction, a lot of popularity. If you go into Sioux Falls again and try to get on any of their pickleball courts anytime, they're often very full. So it's a thing that people want, and it attracts people. So they're good. It's a fun sport if you guys haven't played it. You guys also have nets and stuff you can rent here. I'd encourage you to try it out. It's a lot of fun. But that's our next step, is just to add another set of 2 courts onto that. So the way we have that planned out is so that it's kind of modular, it can grow with itself, and we can keep just adding fence line to it. So it works out well. Then let's see here, down in Swenson Park. Again, we would like to add shade structures over the playground area as well. Just kind of the same type of shade structure, you know, 4 poles and
near the playground. If you go to like the city park, it's great. We have a lot of old and mature trees, and it pretty much always shaded, so you don't worry about it. But when you're out in the middle there and you're trying to have kids play on plastic that would be really hot, you know, we're looking for safety, and also controlling temperature of children is a battle in itself a lot of times. So just making it a little bit more habitable. And then the last thing on our list recommendation for this year would be shade structure at the dog park. Again, same thing, dogs like children, can't really leave them home alone. You have to account for, you know, their ability to cool themselves as well. And dog park it seems to be a very utilized thing people are enjoying, but that's one of the main feedbacks we're getting from a lot of dog owners is they appreciate some sort of shade structure out there. With that, I think I've kind of run through the list of recommendations. If you guys got any questions, I'm open.
That'll give us plenty to talk about. How
All right.
much of that parking lot work could you guys do, Craig?
You'd have to, I mean, it takes some equipment. I mean, I don't know if we'd be able to do with what we've got.
Okay.
Do you guys have like a plan for that? Like a drawing?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. I'm sure we could get that over to you. I don't know if I have it in my notes, but it kind of rolls up and around the north of the softball fields between softball and the flag football fields up there.
It's no different than what's already planned for Swenson, right? Is that
Correct.
It's that same
It's
master
extension of the
plan, yeah, we have a
plan.
master plan for the whole area, and
Sure.
this would just be.
I guess I have a question, just getting a vibe of that group. Is there discussions about, you know, we have kind of the pickleball centric idea and then, you know, almost 300,000 again out at Swenson Park? Any thoughts about other parks in town or discussion or water features or pools or splash pads or?
Yeah, so the pool is a big one that we would like to be looking at soon. I know that it's on the date as like a TBD, but it's obviously seemingly more pertinent as we're finding leaks every year. And then, you know, we have done some looking into it. I know I was looking and I saw, I think they said 80% of your pool usage comes from waist high or lower water. And there's some options there, so maybe having a 10-foot pool or a pool that's as deep as ours, as far as it is, might not be as necessary. But I know you had suggested maybe getting like a master plan of the Central Park area and then trying to figure out how to.
Yeah, we don't even have that in the budget, but yes, we have started to have that discussion with ISG.
Yeah.
I think, and again, I know it's heavily utilized, Swenson Park area, but I feel like this is my third year on budget, and every year, like, all of our park and rec money goes out there.
Yeah.
And very little goes to, like, the other parks in town. I think that's my main concern.
Yeah, no, I think that's understandable. I think from where I see it, I think the Swenson Park has been a big project on the community's mind that seemed relatively untouched for a while. So I think after doing, you know, 2-3 years in a row of solid improvements on it, that it should kind of put us into a point where people are pretty happy with it, and it's getting to like a very usable state where we can start developing other areas and chipping away, and then, you know, circle back to that after however long.
Yeah, I mean, parking wasn't really, I wasn't on my meetings.
You know, it wasn't on mine when I joined the park and rec board either. I did not know it was this big of a deal.
Not really where I wanna put $200,000, but.
Problem is on those days of flag football and those times there, people are parking on Western, right? Western.
and
They park on Western?
And they were parking in the black tie lot, they're parking all over the grass. There's no other alternatives really at this point. So especially if you're to have softball games and then you're gonna, at the times when you're transitioning people in and out at the same time, or if there's any overlap, it's becoming a serious concern.
It's a tight parking lot, but I go up there for soccer practice.
Yeah.
Like a Monday night, and it's obviously just one half is used, but still.
Is that just gravel then?
Correct.
So does that require a conditional use permit?
It will, yes, and I put that note in there, so if we're gonna keep it gravel, it will require a variance from the P and Z board.
It was 600,000 just to pave it.
That's just the area north of the ball fields, or is that the existing gravel lot as well?
That was just the new part.
600,000.
For the new park.
You do the curb and gutter and asphalt.
Yeah, so you have some drainage issues to take care of.
Yeah, I just feel like we're not gonna get anywhere with some of our other initiatives.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you.
No problem.
Thanks to the park board, you guys have been around now for when did we do that, 2 years, 3 years?
Third year, I think, aren't we?
Third year.
Third year?
Yeah, it's been a great addition, thank you guys for your work. All right. Now we're gonna move to our friends from Humboldt, the Humboldt ambulances. Tim is here, he loves coming over and seeing us.
Betcha. Think of nothing better to do tonight.
It's a Monday.
It's a Monday. Evening folks, Tim Even, Humboldt Fire and Ambulance, we're here for our budget request for next year, and we are going to come in with the same budget request as we had the last 2 years. And I hope you have the number in front of you, because I did not go to the hall to grab anything, I left the farm and came straight here.
23,625.
Sounds believable.
It's all believable.
I'll write that down so I know. Like I said before, when we had the release of funds, call volume was down a little bit for last year, but this year we're on pace to be right back where we have been in the, the 320 some calls, I suppose.
What's your guys', just out of curiosity, what is the other funding sources for the Humboldt ambulance? Where else do you guys get revenue from?
Our revenue also comes from the city of Humboldt. We get money from the county and then fundraisers and things of that sort.
Okay. Do you guys ever respond out to Colton? Probably as like a secondary thing, or?
Colton area is Del Rapids ambulance, but we are their backup ambulance if they are out. And then
Okay.
we travel outside of our area for, usually.
Can you get short of that, you come up negative $163,250 last year?
That's with our budget that we put in there for wanting to do things, and like I said, whether they'll hit or not, that's yet to be seen. But yes, we put in for, different equipment that we might wanna look at, but the funds aren't there, we get by with what we got. I just figured if we kept that going for long enough, they'll run me off as chief.
Is that the?
I keep it looking bad, and then,
It's in your mind.
and they say you are, railroaded in, so.
Well, we've had a long-term relation, man alive, how long have we been doing this? A long time. Way before I got here, so.
Yeah, and I think the service has been around for 50-some years, so.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Probably 55 years, something like that, so.
Well, like we always say,
I'm not saying a lot.
Not by much though.
were you chief the first year maybe, or no, not?
No.
That's what they usually say to me.
Like I said, the Jardings were at the helm for over 40 years.
Oh, my God.
I said, I'm not gonna make a run at that. And
Yeah.
not, so.
All right, well, thanks, Tim.
You bet.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Mr. Brian Schumacher with the Hartford Area Fire and Rescue. How are you, Brian?
Good evening, guys.
This is 2 weeks in a row, or?
Yeah, it's kind of
almost 2
strange
weeks in
seeing
a
this
row.
often, so.
Yeah.
Well, coming at you tonight, budget request, we're asking for $35,000 on the operating side, an increase of $5,000, and $55,000 going into the equipment replacement fund, an increase of $5,000. This is coming off last year at the request of the city for no increases, so we helped toe the line with no increases a year ago. But we're continuing to incur all this inflation that's going on. So as Tim mentioned, we're kind of running the same as Humboldt Ambulance. A year ago, we were down in calls. This year, we're pacing right back up into the normal range. We're already getting in the upper 200 plus calls, we'll end up in the high 300 call range on the year again, so. We have the new engine, probably right after the first of the year, somewhere in that time frame, being completed. To get that in service, and then, beyond that, it's keeping everything else running and operational. Just trying to keep up with the city's growth, the change in the type of structures being built in the city, and the equipment needed to properly protect and serve those different structures.
Yeah, any questions for the chief? So the new truck, the money is all there, is that?
It's all between your fund and our fund, that money is all taken care of. But
Yeah, that's what I
I know
thought.
we started this probably been 12, 14 years ago, really trying with all our entities we get funding from, trying to build up cash flow to put the reserves away to make these purchases. As I've said in the past, when I started this, I didn't want to come to you and say, hey, I need to spend $1 million on a truck this year. This way, it's accruing little by little, year over year, and at that point in time, we projected out 15-year asset planning. That took us to about 2030. Now we're projecting out into the mid-2030s, just trying to see from a major asset standpoint what we're going to need, what it's going to take from a cash flow perspective.
So, just to clear things up, I guess, too, and maybe more for Teresa, the $205,000 we have set aside, that's already in a
Committed
fund
for them, yep.
for them. Okay, we can choose to add to that then, or?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's their ask for that.
That would be the $55,000.
They're asking to add another
Yep.
$55,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be going into that city health fund.
Right.
Perfect, yeah. So we're looking at the 90 total plus the 80 that's already really in
Right.
there.
The 80's already in budget.
Gotcha, okay.
Yep.
So
Yeah, so they're
55 of that goes to that fund.
Yep, into the city health fund, so.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay.
City gets to make the interest on it.
Your kids are
Yeah,
yeah.
we're getting rich off that deal.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Any other questions for Brian? All right, thank you.
All right,
Good
thank
to
you
see you
guys,
again.
appreciate the partnership.
You bet.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, Miss Leah. Jamboree Days Committee.
Hey guys, feels like I was just here.
You were just here too. Yeah.
Okay, I listened to you guys, so we're only requesting 5,000. But I will tell you that based off of, I think I provided you the information, you kind of see where that would put us. So if we were to have a group come to us and say we could get you a carnival, my answer has to be no. Because we will not have funds to cover a carnival. Like I think I told you the last time, the minimum cost of a carnival is gonna be $25,000. So
Right.
Could your answer be maybe?
it could be because I come to see you guys.
Yeah.
There you
You would say maybe first and then come and see us, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
but it would be, I can't give you an answer right now because our
Right.
budget would not cover a carnival.
Right.
And obviously, we just took into account basically doing very similar to what we've done in the past.
Well, and you had an advantage or disadvantage that you happened to be here when we were starting these conversations about
Advantage, disadvantage, all depends on how you
Yeah,
look at it.
about having everybody really take a hard look at what they're
Is there
doing.
anything you won't do?
Anything we won't do, I
Yeah,
don't know
because you
anything we
requested
could
less.
technically cover, it's just that we did have excess in our account, as you've seen, so I took that into account when I put in the request. We kind of always kept that cushion with that thought in our back pocket that we may or may not need funding for a carnival, but I listened to what you guys said, and next year I'm not gonna tell you it's gonna be this low, because as you can see, our number will drop significantly.
Well, it's an event we gotta keep, really. I think everybody loves having it, so.
Started in the '70s
Not
as.
everybody.
Eeyore. That sounded kind of Eeyore right there. Wow.
Come Sunday afternoon, there's about a dozen people in town.
All right, any questions for Leah?
So just, yeah, I'm just looking at this, and like I said, there's 232 pages, so there's a lot of information in the packet I have. But you're requesting $5,000, right? Because you guys are in a good, relatively a good financial spot, and
Yep.
you guys do a pretty good job too at getting, I don't say vendors, but
Sponsors.
sponsorships, right?
Yep, and we've been working harder at trying to get more and more, just a lot of work, especially when your volunteers all working 8 to 5 jobs, so.
I think that's good. I'm a big proponent of getting the community involved in whether it's Jamboree Days or Hometown Christmas or,
We'll take volunteers.
yeah, or not volunteers, but I think getting sponsorships. I mean, if the community wants it, you know, it shouldn't come all on the back of the cities, of the taxpayers, you know, or of the city, right? So like, if people want Jamboree Days, then they got $5 or $10, $15 to throw in there. So I think you guys have done a good job at getting the sponsors, a good job financially of not overspending, and keeping that balance in a good position. So, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's gonna be hard. I mean, we have with all the requests right now, or not all the requests, but it could be a year where we have a deficit as a city, and that's not good. Because I know if I have a deficit in my bank account, I have to make cuts. You know, I can't eat T-bone steaks anymore. I gotta eat rice and beans. So, sorry, I'm just putting that out there.
No, that's
I
fine.
was thinking ramen noodles.
Rice and beans, beans and rice. So, awesome.
Leah, the only suggestion I have, or recommendation, or request would be, let's make sure that the chamber and Jamboree committee are working together to really promote that thing, try and bring as many people as we can into it. And if we can somehow tie our contribution to the financial impact that it has on the city, you know, it's easier to swallow. It's really, I mean, because I think you're one of the few requests that I look at and go, geez, I think we should give it more. But I need to be able to tie that to something more tangible than, well, it looked like there was a lot of people there. And I don't know how we do that. I don't know.
I'm open for suggestions.
Yeah.
And you guys are gonna see requests come from me, because you guys asked me to have somebody included, so we'll start in October.
Yeah, yeah.
Just gotta think about which one you want to come join the fun.
Yeah. You know, I know sometimes they can determine how many people participate in an event by how much garbage is produced, but dead serious, that's how they calculate a lot of those big events.
Huh.
So, yeah, absolutely, yeah, so, yeah, that's always been the wild card for me is
Yep.
how many people are.
And yeah, and the dumb thing is with us, we're 100% outside, so if it rains, like this year, it rained on Saturday.
Right.
And it was a forecast, it didn't look good, but I mean, Friday night was huge, because of the
yeah.
weather was good, so.
Right, all right.
And we have a nice park, and it's great to have the center point, but it'd really be nice if we could have some events that would encompass some of the chamber areas around town. Be it Sunshine's parking lot, or whatever, do we call it that, Sunshine's parking lot? Or out by Ace, or out by Dare, you know, if we could come up with some auxiliary events that could tie the Jamboree Days, I think that'd be fantastic. And when it comes time for October, we'll send Lynn and somebody from the council, and yeah, we definitely wanna have those conversations.
Yeah,
'Cause it's
because our
easier-
committee can't do that,
Well, we get
not
it,
big
yeah,
enough.
we know that that's gonna take people, and we know we're gonna have to go to the chamber, or whoever it may be, and say, hey, if you guys want these events, or we wanna expand this deal, we're gonna have to have everybody step up.
Yep. Yeah, because a dozen people definitely can't do
Right.
more than what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like I said, come Sunday afternoon, I have a feeling Craig and I are the first one probably hitting our head on the ground about 2 o'clock.
Yeah. So, anyway, all right,
Thank you.
thank you, Leah.
Thanks.
You bet. All right, next up, Hartford Hometown Christmas, and I'm assuming you just didn't come to sit here, Sherry. You
I
must
know, I
have-
wanted to see you guys, it's been a
Oh,
while.
thank you, gee, that's so nice.
Lisa is sick and she asked that I come this year.
Again?
You were here last
She's
year.
always, I know.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna have a talk before we. So you have before you, the balance that we hold in our account, I'm assuming we have that in front of you. is just over $3,000. So we're asking again for the same 10,000. Well, we're asking for your consideration. Whatever you give will be fine. As you can see, we do go for business donations.
Yeah.
We have in that 20,000 range every year, and this community is, business community is totally awesome
Yeah.
toward that, so we really appreciate that. The one thing we are doing is we had, the last 2 years, we had a group handle the vendor fees and the whole, lost for words, the whole show out at the school where people come buy people's trinkets and all that stuff. We're gonna take that back over, so that'll increase our revenue by 1,500 approximately this year. That's the approximate number there. We're not looking at like taking really anything away from this year over previous years. However, some of our, the things that we purchase each year are going to be dropped this year. We add, the costume characters, over the years we've added several. We own those, we buy these character things. We have kids or people, groups within the community, we have them wear them and hang out, and the kids get a card and they have all these characters sign off on their cards. It's just been a huge deal that's really enjoyed. We don't see ourselves purchasing many this year. We have quite a few costumes and they're in good repair and that type of thing. We do a donation thing at the very end when we have some money left over, and those are to the schools to help with the meals that they provide for the kids to take home for the holidays, that type of thing. That never comes out of the city's money. That comes out of the money that is raised from the businesses. We understand that you're not in the, in the donation field. But we like to keep our balance fairly low each year. So, we know how much we have to work with, and we stay within those means. But we do understand that the city needs to cut, and whatever you choose to do will be fine with us, and we will work our budget that way. Okay?
All right, any questions for Sherry? All right.
All right, thank you very much for
Thank
your
you. Thank
consideration.
you. All right. Hold on.
That's just one question, Sherry. You had budgeted 20,000 in revenue from business donations. Do you remember how much you got and how much you actually received in 2023?
Did you get that, Eddie?
I can get that amount for you, but it had been very close to 20,000,
Okay.
if not shortly over.
Sure, okay. That's a big number, so thank you.
Yeah, we have some very
Yeah.
big sponsors. Now, I will also admit that through the Midco Golden West thing, we had just an amazing jump in revenue that year because they wanted their names both out there and stuff.
Right.
So this year definitely could be less because those things were happening over the last 2 years. So,
Yeah.
but we also have some very large sponsors that aren't those two businesses.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Well, that's good. All right, next up is the Hartford Area Chamber. Scotty.
Hello. All right, this year, the Hartford Area Chamber of Commerce is, looking for $15,000, which is a little bit of a cut from what we asked for last year. I know last year we asked for 20,000, and I believe the year before we asked for 32,000. So every year we are, trying to work our way down. The biggest thing that we are looking for the funds to use is for marketing. Marketing right now is one of my biggest things that I would like to focus on with the chamber, and I know Wynn as well. So at this point, I guess I'm just kind of open for any and all of your questions, really.
When you say marketing, what does that It's a general, so what?
Right,
what are you
so,
marketing to?
yeah, perfect, oh, great question. So basically, what we would use these funds for, would be helping promote the Hartford Live Lively, and then, membership marketing. Specifically with, advertising and things like that, and just trying to expand a little bit more, like the social media aspect, and things like that. Let me see here. I do know one thing that we've kind of talked about, as far as marketing goes, is just trying to expand into, I want to call it merchandise, but not really merchandise, but just like more ways to promote like our chamber members. Would be like window stickers and banners, things like that. So.
He mentions the Live Lively deal, Sean.
Oh, he saw that, you were,
I came,
you were.
I came and talked with the chamber board prior to this meeting because I'm on the very beginning stages of working with Wynn and Amy both, and now with the chamber. I've had the conversation about how can we incorporate Live Lively into their marketing campaign through the chamber and through the businesses, and the chamber really will need to have them help us, because I want them to help incorporate Live Lively into their advertising campaigns to help push that tagline for the city. So, thanks, Scotty, for bringing that up.
I've got one more question,
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
You're the president now, right? So you get to kind of all the
Currently, yes.
questions, yeah. I know there's been conversation, and I gotta remember probably a year ago, where I think it's the chamber's long-term vision to be self-sufficient or self-sustainable,
Yes.
which I think is a good goal. What's that projected time? Because I think initially, was it like a 10-year? I mean, I'm going back in my memory here, but
Well, so originally, when the Chamber of Commerce was first formed, I believe it was a 10-year process that they had first stated. Right now, I personally can't give you an exact number on when we will become self-sufficient. I know that we are doing literally everything in our power to get there as soon as we possibly can. It's just tonight, right now, I cannot answer that question.
that's cool. Yeah.
So, but we are really trying everything we can, so.
Looks like you make some good money on the golf tournament.
The golf tournament does well.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's usually a loss, but I'm going through the, maybe last year.
I've been told that, but the numbers here don't support that. Show an expense of half the income.
Huh.
Somebody must have controlled the bar tab.
It's probably a good point for a place to start. And banquet isn't, that's a good investment, I guess, in the, back into the business community. And you don't, it's hard to put, burger battle's cheap. I think
Right.
that's really money well spent. I can't believe it only $300.
There's a lot of burgers that are bought.
Absolutely, that's great for the community.
We should do one every month.
One thing we're really trying to avoid that we've kind of had issues with in years past is taking big losses, such as like the banquet. Even just a few years ago, the banquet was a huge hit for us, as far as taking that loss on. So, this past year, we were in a much better position with our banquet, so, but then the feedback on that was a little bit different too, so. So, yeah.
Nice to have the big blowout pool and all the stops, rent the big event barn, but it certainly doesn't
Right.
pay a lot.
It's expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a big difference between casino night and a bowling alley, that's for sure, so.
Facts. All right, any other questions for Scotty?
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, Scotty.
all right, thank you guys.
All right, next up, HADF, and that's probably why our
Blair the banker.
That is correct.
Nice haircut, man. High and tight, it looks like.
Go after you, Elise.
Right with the summer cut.
I was
Three of us
say something
here.
Strategic.
Gotta watch those lights. It's glary up here, glary.
So HADF, we are up here requesting $55,590. That is our similar, if not exact, ask for the last number of years. Last year, we did not come before the HADF, or excuse me, for the budget for certain reasons. We decided to punt on that one. So, but we are back again in full force. So I worked on something today just because we have a lot of stuff that's going on in the HADF, and I wanted to make sure that I shared it with council, anyone that's in this room, just because it's an exciting time right now. I've been on the HADF for about 10 years. We are finally at a point where all of the talking that we've done, the wishing, the wants, we're there. We are at the tipping point. I'm not sure if you guys have had a chance to go out by North Oaks lately. It's taking shape. It's looking like it's going to be an industrial park instead of just bare land. It's exciting. But that being said though, there's still expenses, there's still costs, there's still realizations that we're not at that point yet where we would like to be, but we are on the first step of that stepping stone to get there. Sean, kind of like you said earlier to Scotty, in years to come, we will be self-sufficient. Are we there yet? No. And a lot of that is the fact that we've got ground to sell. And hopefully with Bender Commercial, taking the lead with Amy helping out diligently, we are going to get there. The rates are going to start dropping here, starting with the rate cut next year next month is what's presumed. There's some people that are aggressive saying 200 basis point rate reduction the next year. If that's the case, that's going to bring back a lot of buying power for different people that were forced to be turned off because of the high interest rate market. So some of my notes that I have here, we got an awesome group of volunteers. There's a lot of experience, a lot of diversity. We obviously purchased our 180 acres north of town here in the last 24 months, focused on industrial and retail development along with workforce housing. But again, the elephant in that room is North Oaks. It's our biggest expense, but it's our largest profitability market. There is money to be made there. But one big thing that we are going to be doing and have been doing, we're cautious with that land. Diligently cautious. We had an opportunity, we could have sold it, made a boatload of cash, but it didn't fit what our vision was. And we don't think it fits what the city's vision is either. We don't want the wrong industry to come to town to tarnish what we're trying to build. Being patient comes at a cost. We all know that. Interest is not cheap. Fortunately, we did get our roughly $3 million in loans before rates did skyrocket up into the 7s and 8s. We are on a principal and interest payment. We did look into that to see if we could get it dropped down to an interest-only payment. Only way we could do that, refinance the note at current market rates. So you're kind of handcuffed to what we have going there. Those expenses, yes and no, there's some good and bad. There has been principal debt that's been repaid to the tune of roughly $400-some thousand, $473,000.
Is that just on the North Oak or?
North Oak, well, it's Kidweiler and
Yeah.
in North Oak.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. One of the big topics, of course, is the LIP grant that we've got. You know, the city and the HADF, we were awarded $1.9 million. That is astronomical to accomplish what probably would have been on a 10-year radar. We all know it ain't cheap for infrastructure, as Teresa, Greg, you guys have all attested to. So that $1.9 million is absolutely. We also want to thank our anchor tenant, Pro Framing, Pro Safety. Let's see here, the $55,590 in years past has always came from that third penny sales tax. That's where we would expect the council to look for those funds to be relinquished if that is in fact the case. I believe you guys do have our 2025 budget up there. As you'll see, the largest expense is that $168,000 for interest.
fortunate thing is, land will be ready soon. We are actively marketing it. We're being proactive to say that we're gonna have at least $500,000 in sales. I hope it's 3 times that. I hope it's all sold by this time next year. It changes the landscape definitively. But a lot of that money that's received from those sales, 80% of that goes back to the bank to pay down those notes. Once those notes are repaid and the coffers start filling up, that focus will then be, of course, turned on to the kid water. We got a lot going, but we got the right people at the table. We got Amy at the helm. We're doing the things that we should be doing that we've only been able to talk about for the last 10 years. It's very exciting. You got some goosebumps, Travis?
Got something on it. Indigestion maybe.
Yeah. You know, and the hard part is we could liquidate that land tomorrow and we could fill our coffers and start looking for the next parcel of land. That's not what our intent is. It's not what our vision is. It's not what your vision is. Having the right industry come to town is really what's going to keep Hartford being Hartford. We also got the READ fund that's providing $600,000 in funding. It'll help with the industrial park for grading other items, but some of the big things that the HADF has accomplished in the last year, we signed off with a vendor, we amended covenants for North Oaks Industrial Park, regional pond agreement for North Oaks, groundbreaking at North Oaks. We have 2.8 acres sold in North Oaks with 2 purchase agreements. We had a successful tour of Hartford through the partnership with SMGA. The tour, looks like they toured Black Tide, Bean Kings, and the wastewater treatment facility. Distributed the Hartford Live Lively Community Guide showcasing the community of Hartford. Amy continues to meet with several prospects and existing businesses. We had a feature story at Sioux Falls Business, feature story with Sioux Valley Energy, another feature story that could be coming soon.
Now I've got goosebumps.
Travis Electric is relocating.
Yeah, exactly, there we go.
Shocking.
That is shocking.
Let's hope not.
All right.
Questions,
Any
concerns?
questions for Blair?
I think, you know, the expense for converting to a full-time HADF director is not in this budget, but it's certainly a significant expense
It
for
absolutely
the city. Can you talk about what difference is that making, or how do you feel that's impacting
Yeah.
the ability for HADF to turn?
I guess the turn on with this, Cindy, I don't call that an expense, I call that an investment. Just like the other groups that we have around here, it's all volunteers. Basically the same thing as you guys with the minimal that you get. It's not like you're getting rich off of your time invested. Having Amy at the helm while each of us have our 8 to 5s, with the amount of work that we've got going on, $3 million in loan debts. That $3 million in debt, what that could prove to be for the city of Hartford in years to come, I don't know if we could put a number on it. I mean, there's so much speculation on what comes there, but it's not gonna be storage units. It's going to be something that's going to be long-term beneficial, and God willing, it pays for itself.
Yeah, and I think that answer was really good, actually. You're a good speaker. You know, it's interesting when we look at our community development plan, we need new pools, new parks. These guys are laughing at me. But how do we accomplish, these amenities, right, that people want? And I don't know how to do that outside of having, I guess, majority of our revenue comes from the tax base, right? And so, I don't know where I'm going at with that. I mean,
You asking him to build a pool?
I'm just saying, if we wanna do a parking lot, someday out by Swenson Park, that sounds great. I would love that. I'd love to plant, trees and do, all of these things. But none of that's possible without some level of growth, right? And I talk to a lot of people, and I think, you guys play a role in that, is being selective with growth, right? Because you can see bad growth. I mean, there's probably communities in South Dakota that have had really bad growth where they bring in the wrong industry and it changes the entirety of a town or something like that. And so I'm not asking a question, I'm just kind of openly talking, so take what you want from that.
I'll go back to my question, which I appreciate your answer.
He's great at it, yeah.
And so I think it's great that it helps relieve the burden on the volunteers who are making HADF go. I think I was looking for, do you feel like things are moving faster? Do you feel like there's some, specific benefit other than, you know?
And honestly, Sandy, it's so hard to tell with the rate environment being what it is today. It pushed so many players out of the market. We're not out of the weeds yet. That first rate cut isn't supposed to take place. It's not even confirmed yet, but people that pay attention to the Federal Open Market Committee more than I do, there's high speculation. If that speculation would downturn, it's election year. If there's another COVID, there's a 9/11, there's 1,000 things that can play a role into those perspectives. I'm not trying to beat around the bush with your question, but a lot of it depends upon what the banks decide to do after the Fed adjust rates. I personally feel, just because of being in the banking environment, the number of people that are ready to jump on something when the rate is right. Whether that's going to be a land purchase or a purchase of an existing building in town or in Sioux Falls, wherever it may be, I can't say that for sure, but there's energy that's out there.
Agree. Make it happen. Ask Amy what I say to her every day.
Get it
Go
done.
sell some land.
Go sell some land. I think I say it to her every time we talk. I think I
Every
end the
time.
conversation with,
More than once.
why don't you sell something? Go sell something.
Oh, and I do have to say again, how it's looking out there, how everything's taking shape out in North Oaks. If you haven't been out there, you got it. It's people that are interested, they can finally envision what that lot's gonna look like instead of just a parcel of land. It helps tremendously. Comes at a big cost, but 1.9 million that eases the pain a little bit too.
Well, we were just talking about that today. We got, if you want to just go round figures, we got $2 million worth of roads for really about a $200,000 investment. So that's about 10 cents on the dollar. We got that done.
Remember that when you vote, folks.
You don't get that very often. Really,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
huge.
That's a grand slam. Bottom of the ninth.
You don't get grants very often for anything. Grants are.
It wasn't for lack of effort.
Yes.
Thank you to Amy and Teresa
Yeah.
for everything that you did for that.
Just an observation on your budget.
Yes, sir.
2024 budget, the year you did ask for $55,590 from the city, you still show it as revenue.
Bring another sheet.
Oh, and I was gonna ask, yeah, I seen something else I wanted to ask about
Just,
that too.
Just a word of caution. That, it's just.
So this was
Should be in
your,
there.
yeah, this was your January to December budget, first line, it shows 55,590 coming for, and we didn't, last year we didn't give you enough.
No, we did not, so that was just an oversight.
I'll have to check with Bus on that. I didn't even catch that one. My apologies.
And I noticed something else, and this is on Teresa, on your sheet. The next deal down you have where it says outside organizations appropriations, you have HADF, zero, never mind. You don't have 25 on here. That's just years past. Oh, I thought I caught it.
The only thing I can think of is why that would be there is possibly we asked for the money at the end of the year and it didn't get posited until January of that following year maybe. But I'll check with Bus.
Possibility.
I will definitely check with Bus.
And it could have just been a complete oversight because we requested that 55,590 for a number of years.
Okay.
Kind of goofy number, how it ever came to be 55,590. I'm not here to say, it's just my lemonade stand, so.
55,555 is just too much to say.
Got lost.
All right, anybody else got any questions for
What'd you
Blair?
say?
55.6.
5555.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Blair.
Thanks, Blair.
Thank you.
Thanks, Blair.
All right. So. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. Take care.
Huh?
Just to stay.
You can do whatever you want.
Just gets ugly from here.
Yeah, from here to just yeah, we're not kicking you out, but it's not, if you wanna sit here and listen to us argue, you sure can.
Now we should go over the city.
Yeah, we should go back and do the city's,
What is a hell of a presenter? Holy smokes. That's what I'm thinking. He still did not answer your question.
No.
Oh, he did it. He's a hell of a presenter.
And he knows.
Yeah.
Smiling.
alright, let's get back up here to the list. You guys don't have much on yours, right?
Yeah, we.
Knew there wasn't nothing there.
Yeah, we knew we didn't have no money. I mean, you got the park board
Quick
recommendation.
question, what, are we going back up to the top of that request?
Yeah,
page?
yes,
Okay.
because there's only a couple items that the city had this request.
Finance and services.
Yeah, we'll just talk about that quick.
I said, kind of yours.
Oh, kind of my request?
Well, I'm just saying new computers for the council.
Oh, yeah, right.
Lights for the billboard?
Yeah, you guys are going way out.
I know, we.
Oh, yeah. You stepped out on the edge. Craig usually has a, but he hides his stuff.
I'm just waiting for whatever breaks down to replace. I'm not sure which is gonna go
Yeah.
first.
I guess I did have a, well, on the, why are we renting a, do we rent a payloader for the
No.
winter?
This
Well,
will be the first
This will be
year.
the first year. We're getting so many cul-de-sacs, they take forever. So who's ever on the payloaders about 4 hours behind the rest of us all the time. So it'd just be nice to be able to have everybody get done about the same time and in and out of there, so.
And lower the labor costs?
You'd probably have still about the same labor in there, because you're still gonna have guys out. I mean, right now, a lot of us, if, like, when I'm done with the maintainer, I'll take off on Saturday, Sunday, or whatever, evening. And,
You're just thinking put
who's
two
ever-
people in
who's ever
payloaders.
running the payload is out by himself, cleaning stuff and doing stuff, and
Yeah.
so this way we'd have two, because we got the attachments, we can switch back and
I
forth.
know you had that cost. What was that cost?
20,000.
20,000, yeah.
To
It's
run
fine.
it from like November 1 to
Yeah, we're
March
looking
1.
about 4 months, so it's about $5,000 a month.
Okay.
Might be a question for another day, but I guess just like Blair said, we don't wanna become a land of storage units, you know? How do we, the whole up there by Pat and Ember is all cul-de-sacs, you know, how do we, is there anything, they don't.
I tried to get rid of cul-de-sacs 25 30
Yeah.
years ago, it didn't work.
Never worked. I wonder if, I hate to say road maintenance fee, but, it takes a lot more time to clean those out, to maintain them,
Yeah, my vote, even though it's gonna cost me more.
All right, so you guys have two things on there. New computers. We got these in 17, so they're coming up on 8 years old.
7 years this year, so yeah.
They are archaic.
They are at their time, your software is getting outdated and whatnot. I think a few of you have had issues, so, yeah, it's time they're on our replacement list, so.
So is it such a thing, I don't know if it makes any sense, it's better to replace them all at once rather than try to do a scheduled and,
Well, I mean, you can do a couple, 3 at a time, but I mean, you're just putting more years on the ones you're.
prolonging and then.
Is this
you guys
including
have this-
yours?
No, so this is just your guys's.
And are yours the same age?
Mine is not. Craig's is actually up to be, and that was in budget, his is the same age, so he's an employee. His gets a lot more wear and tear on it than
I was
his
gonna
does.
say, if you're using the same age of
Yeah,
machine.
and I do have I'm trying to bring it in here with me, I do have a schedule of computers, and I know the ages, and we're on an 8-year rotation with them, so, as for employees, Craig's is, we have a couple that we're replacing this year for our code employees and part-time, but that's in our budget. He's up for next year, and then your guys' computers are for next year.
So this number you have then 8 in here, R7 and.
Or, yes,
okay, great.
yes, you're
8.
7.
Okay,
So,
and then
And then we talked about doing lights on the new billboard, so we threw a figure together for that.
Boy, the guy who was asking for money for that would have asked for a little more, we would have had lights on there already.
Yeah, I
Are we
think so.
increasing the rent then, or?
No, that's on the billboard sign out by,
By the interstate exchange. The new one we put up in
Oh.
Golden West and.
Our billboard, not our billboard.
Yes, yes, yes,
Oh.
our.
The solar ones are on clearance right now, just pop a couple.
true.
So what,
This
this
would
is
be
just,
actually good.
This is
Getting
the, this is
electric
the
to
sign
it,
out
right?
there coming off.
Yeah,
That's
this is,
perfect.
this
This
is
is
Every
actually-
night
actually.
I put up welcome to Hartford, as Golden West. I got all the money, the sign and all that's paid for, but I never asked for
We
money
did talk
for
a little
lights.
bit about solar, we're just not sure if
Oh,
it's
the
bright
one on-
enough. or-
okay.
Coming right
come
out
to
to
this,
there.
all right, yeah.
Someday.
It might
Pretty
be,
soon. That could probably wait.
but this would be.
I mean, they did put a light there on
How
that
much
corner,
is it?
right?
5250.
I think they fixed it.
Fixed all of them now.
5,000.
Yeah.
I,
This
yeah.
needs to be re-aimed.
Go up there, Carol.
It's not as bad with those lights now as it was. Okay, and then engineering for Kelly,
Kelly's Avenue. So,
Yeah.
like I said, this was on our CIP. I did not put it into the budget, because I think this is a discussion. Do we want to do that project?
Do the residents
Next
want it
year.
done, or why do we need to
We
do
have
it?
not received a petition to do it.
No, it's got a real poor drainage up in there, it's been terrible forever. The streets, there's some clay pipe in there yet for sewer, the water main, we've had numerous service lines break up in that area, plus a few water mains leaks too. So that's why it's on the CIP, whether it gets done next year, you know. It's something that's gonna be in the near future, it's just when we
At some
want it to be
point,
in the near
yes.
future.
Is it an immediate one? Probably not, but at some point it will need to be addressed.
Like I said, the drainage is probably one of the biggest issues up in the level. They get flooded out pretty good when it's heavy rains.
That's why I wondered if maybe they, but the folks on the street have not.
Not put any petition,
No, I've had him talk to me, and I know when Scott was on the council, he brought it up a lot of times too.
He's also talked to me about the expense per foot.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think too, some of our concerned about paying it too.
Scott spent 2.5 years on the council with me and still calls me Troy. That's Scott.
Because he thinks he's talking to me.
all right.
And then the only other thing is, we talked about putting some money for, the regional
Oh, that's right.
wastewater, project, paying for some professional fees. Arvin said throw out maybe 25,000. I said,
And-
that's not in the budget either, so these are considerations.
But can that come out of the sewer fund?
Yes, that I.
What are the other
recommend.
communities? Cause there's,
We got a meeting Wednesday.
I would be curious,
If they come to the meeting Wednesday and there hasn't been a decision on those guys putting money in,
Yeah, if you
I
talk
would
to all
be
of
curious
them.
of what they're doing. I mean, right now, the burden of everything has been on the city of Hartford, but if we're putting up 25,000 and they're putting in 5,000, it's kinda like,
We don't have to spend it.
we don't have to spend it.
no,
We're
we
just
don't have to
asking.
budget it either.
We didn't this year, we still spent it.
All right, I have a thought.
Just
I
one.
think, what's that?
Just one.
Sorry, I sort That's not something I
We got the camera on now. Be nice to me for this one time. Jeez. I think, quickly, we should go back up to the top, talk about everything, kind of run through the whole deal, because we talked about revenue, maybe adjusting that sales tax one just on the chance. I think we just need to make a quick run through, and if anybody has any questions or anything that they wanna hammer away at, this is your time.
I don't want to adjust it based on a potential sales tax change.
You do
I
not?
don't want to lower the revenue.
No.
Well, especially when we're putting an extra 200,000 in reserves, right? After this year, or we're on pace to do that, I guess.
We're on pace, but we're running a $93,000 deficit for 20.
Just the way it is.
Yes,
That's the way it's written right now.
right.
So Cindy, you'd say no.
I'd say no.
You'd say leave it the way it is.
I'd say there should be some other options. It's a potential, it's not a actual. And that's why we have reserves, we can handle a change.
Okay.
That's my 2 cents.
Anybody else got any thoughts, one way or
Yeah,
another?
it's hard to, I mean, it's hard to base a budget off of something that is completely, even if it passes, right, there's still a major unknown there.
Oh, yeah.
But, I do think that we have to look seriously at making some tough decisions so that we're not running a deficit. And I think I think everybody wants that goal, right?
Well, and all that does, if we do take it back to this year's, then we're just exasperating our,
Bigger deficit, you know,
how about that for
exactly.
We're exasperating what?
exasperating our budget deficit worse? If we don't factor in 12% increase on sales tax, we're actually gonna make, when we get to the bottom and do nothing else, our deficit will be 300,000.
Maybe, if it passes and it's implemented.
Right, I'm just saying strictly looking at our budget snapshot.
So if everything just stays the same as last year, right?
Right. So, okay, so let's just keep scrolling down. Anything else that anybody
It's
wants
even
to
if it passes.
hammer away
And I
at?
think, and I've heard there's talk that even if this passes, it may not be till 2026 till it gets implemented.
It'll be minimum July of 25.
Minimum,
It's a
but I
hard
think
time.
they're talking about all the stuff they need to work out, it may not be, and that's just all, once again, this is all speculation and talk, but
Correct.
it may
That's
not
why I don't
be.
think we should change our budget.
Okay,
Do we look at other opportunities to generate revenue as opposed to
right.
chop the budget?
Teresa had sent us a whole list of things that are potential budget,
So our 93,000, is that without any of the park and rec and all those things in it, or is
Right,
Right.
that is without any considerations, none of the requests, none of the park and rec.
So if we add that into all those requests, then it goes to
650,000.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know of any other way to generate revenue except to make, I guess, increase, I would be curious on what ideas you have, Travis, to generate revenue.
Yeah, the ones that you proposed here.
Yep, and I'm looking, okay.
Use all the stored CIP this year. Initially, I thought we should do that, but I think I like sticking, leaving our mill levy at the rate it currently is. I didn't fully understand how that was gonna play out, and how many years we have to use that and whatnot, so, just if I go down those bullet points. I don't like it, but I can stomach the increase from $1.50 to $2 for the street maintenance fee. We've got the hard numbers here of what it costs to maintain our streets to reference that we can utilize when our taxpayers, come in here.
I know several of the surrounding cities too, I threw it out there of what they're charging, like Brandon is at $2 now, Harrisburg, I believe is at $2 now. Lennox said they're at $1.50, but for 2025, they're raising it to $2, so I mean, I think for the area, we're not out of line, I guess, where, we could reference, everybody's needing to do this.
Kind of said it under my breath, if the public was here, but Hartford Township has the highest levy in the county. Just an FYI.
Oh,
I wondered that when,
They're busting our backsides about the.
Yeah, I live on the
Yeah.
township, I pay taxes,
Yeah,
I don't drive
right.
on the roads.
Right,
yeah.
right.
And that, my water bill's over $100 a month.
So we're
Yeah,
talking about this in one lump sum, but in reality, we can move some of those things to the third penny and to, some of the other funds that,
So definitely the chamber and the HADF, we've traditionally taken them on third penny because there's only certain things you can pay with that. Promotions is one of them,
and we have plenty sitting in that fund.
Yeah, we have, a decent amount sitting in there as well. We have 255,000 in there. So definitely HADF and the chamber, like we've done in the past.
So what good does it do to cut them? We might as well spend the money on promotion because
Correct.
we can't use it for anything else.
Yeah, I think the HADF and the chamber, I don't see any reason why, and can we pay hometown
Like I
Christmas?
say, you could put, classify Jamboree Hometown Christmas out of it.
We
We used to do
can-
that years ago, but then Third Penny was getting so far down there that we moved into the general. We can move them back to the
If
Third
we
Penny as
can
well.
move that
Right.
I
this
mean, that will
year,
help,
let's move that.
yeah, that would definitely help.
So that would free up 15 grand,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep, yep.
HADF is,
So if we move that, well, HADF is already. paid
HADF
out.
was not in that big figure that you had though. That's
And that
just,
55,000?
no, the figure of all of the things that they're asking for.
665.
Yeah, this number. I don't have a total.
But we
value,
can fund
Yeah.
hometown Christmas,
And that's this.
Jamboree Day, and the HADF,
Right.
which is their operating expenses.
Yeah,
And the
We
chamber.
can fund that with the Third Penny,
And the chamber, yep,
and the chamber.
yep.
can we fund salaries through that?
Maybe we work Hartford shirts and promote Hartford.
Can we fund salaries?
No. What about the lights for the billboard?
Sneaky.
Yeah, I mean, I
Where
would
was
be
that,
curious.
yeah, I think you can make an argument for, I think we can argue that with our auditor. Just advertisements, just marketing, promoting. I think that could come out of there.
What else can we move?
We could argue that with our auditor.
Does it need to though? I mean, does that sign really need lights? Let me sit on it.
really, yeah. I mean, if we do, we do.
That's a nicety, not a necessity.
Right.
I would agree with that.
If we do, we do. If not,
I brought it up, just kind of, just kind of rubbing on ours one day. You just didn't ask for enough again. We got lights on that thing.
yeah.
So let's,
Okay, so. Okay,
So it's the ambulance,
the ambulance, in my opinion, the ambulance and the fire service, the fire department,
you got it, right?
we gotta fund that. I mean, I just don't know any way that,
Yes, 100%.
agree.
Agree.
At those levels though,
well, the 90,000 for the fire department,
I mean, it's kind of, well, you're gonna have to.
Cheap.
It is, but, well, since we didn't ask for an increase in that last year, you're gonna get it next year.
yeah. So,
So with, just to keep everybody on track here a little bit, but with the chamber, HADF, Jamboree, and hometown Christmas coming out of Third Penny, that'd be 85,590.
okay,
And 55 of that Hartford Fire Rescue money just goes and sits in a fund anyway.
It does.
Until they requested.
until they request it.
Which they will next year.
Yeah, but then
And there's already enough money in there to cover that request.
That's kind of the way I understood it too, yeah.
So we told them, we already
Yep.
have that money.
But I would venture that they're looking at their next truck already.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody taking it all but them.
Well, Hometown Christmas has kept it the same. I mean, I think it's a very real conversation. I think Hometown Christmas is the only organization that we give, or entity, whatever it's called, that has not lowered their ask from the city,
But said they would.
but said they would be open to that, and I
Think about that, they essentially tighten their belt every year.
They do,
Yeah, they don't ask
for more. Yeah, they haven't asked for more since at least 2020.
Yeah, but they also haven't asked for less.
Yeah.
And they spend all their money when they get it, but yeah.
So do I, isn't that how you budget it? Comes in and goes out. I would struggle, doing a parking lot at the softball field and cutting the fire and rescue.
Right.
Oh, 100%.
I don't think that's
100%.
a possibility this year.
I also, if we're gonna start, could we talk about Parks and Rec stuff or?
We're kinda we're spitballing
Spitball,
everybody.
Spitball, right.
Yep.
So, I mean, I get the need for additional parking, but I don't feel like it's, I don't know. I could be swayed one way or the other on that, I don't care. The one that I don't necessarily like to hear is 2 more pickleball courts. How much are our pickleball courts getting used right now?
None, because they're not ready.
Right.
Because they're not done.
Let's put a pin in that, let's see how they get used,
Right.
let's wait for some demand before we spend $45,000 more on that.
I can go, I drive to Crooks to play pickleball. And I get there sometimes it's full, so I can't use it. And then I go to the Sioux Falls to play pickleball, and then
Really?
then I sit and wait for a court to open. Yeah.
Sure.
So,
Can we like pound stakes and put up a rope for where people are supposed to park out there? I mean, it's summer, it's usually dry.
I think we'd still need to do some earth moving, wouldn't we?
I gotta
be able to do that.
And
I mean, you can drive over the, you know, the valleys or through the valleys and over the swales and that stuff to get back, and they're just, I mean, if it rains, they're not getting back there.
And honestly, my concern is the liability, because I have seen them parked on Western, and that's not great.
yeah,
That's a huge safety
I
concern.
Have you
wouldn't
been
mind
by
a couple,
Turtle Creek on a ball game night?
Not a great idea, yeah, it's not great.
It's also
I
not
went
great.
by there a couple Saturdays ago and they were parked everywhere and anywhere.
But what Turtle Creek has, what Fighter has, is sidewalk. Right?
yeah.
They're parking in the
Curb and
cemetery.
gutter.
Oh, but if they park on Western, they're getting right out on the road.
Yeah, or they're rolling down.
No, I'm not disputing,
Turning
that's
ankle,
terrible.
break the leg.
I got a question for so when we get North Oaks done, Craig, there by the water tower, will people be able to park going that way, or are we landlocked? Is the township own some of that land?
Well, the township has that 3 acres or whatever they have in there.
But is there a road, kinda?
We put it in as a future, we were actually looking at putting a building back there at one time, and then we decided to put it up in this other area instead. It is a leveled off area.
Yeah.
I mean, we could utilize it for some parking.
Yeah,
It's not gonna help out the situation with the soccer or.
on the way north,
Yeah.
right. Have we had any conversation with Central States about using their lot?
I've had a conversation with Black Tie. I don't know if you guys noticed this last weekend, they do have orange cones
Yeah,
now
seen
going
it.
to the back. They're allowing people to park in that front half, but if you go past that orange cone, that's their concern, because they have a lot of their equipment and extra wood and whatnot back
Right.
there. So they're allowing them to park there and walk across the grass, so they're hoping that that is deterring people from parking on the lawn and the side of the road. I have not reached out to Central States, but I certainly can.
So again, for me, it goes back to liability. In the event something tragic happens, somebody gets ran over, someone gets killed, they're gonna come after the city and say, you guys didn't have proper parking. You didn't do your due diligence to, make sure that this is safe. You put all these accommodations in for this, but you don't have this.
Can we go back to, so can we go back to, like, do the associations or anybody contribute to anything out there anymore?
That was, we had this conversation today, thank you Cindy, it segued right into that. I wonder, is that a question that we have the Park and Rec Board do, or do we reach out to them?
So when the board was first put together, Troy Larson was the president, and we talked a little bit about it. We reached out to other towns to see if anybody else is doing it. The consensus was pretty much, yeah, the city does most all of it, and at that point, they decided not to pursue it. But not saying that we can't.
Just like,
Because-
sucks my soul to spend over $200,000 on a.
Well, me and Craig were talking, it's expensive, the paint alone, it's expensive, $17 a gallon.
Yeah, it's about $17 a gallon, and we go through probably 30 gallons every 2 weeks.
So,
Every 2
I mean, this really, it's that old analogy.
Just like
sins of
paint the lines
father,
on the
right?
field.
Soccer fields.
Sins of the father. We're paying for our
Expensive.
former council members' sins, because they did shit half-assed. I'll just be blunt. Had great plans for Swenson Park, had no vision on how to get it done, and now we're suffering.
yeah,
Well, I mean, we keep putting this is our major investment for how many years? When are we gonna turn? And how do we get some revenue, or not even, I mean, it is revenue, but how do we, it's like the pool. Like, we're never gonna make money, we're never gonna break even, we're not even come close. But how do we get something back? So when the concession stands up, what then? Do people rent it out? Do we run it? What's going on there?
So that's another thing that the park board needs to talk about. I've reached out to other communities. It's kinda, they're all kinda different. Some of them do, the city runs it. Some of them, they rent it out to the association. Some of them take bids from people who want to do the concessions and make the money off it. So, yeah, it's kinda slated on their agenda. What do we do when we get that building up? Who takes care of it? How does that work? Yeah.
So what if we had, because I really don't even have a figure in mind, but Craig, you could probably give us a ballpark on what you spend out there for hours mowing, putting down, running the rakes, that, we tie up a lot of when we had this conversation this afternoon, I said to Teresa, I said, man, there's not a morning that I'm not down at the pool that they're not over there every day, all summer long.
Yep.
Fields get drug every single day.
Yep.
See, but when I lived in Colton, I played ball and grew up, I drove the fields. I mean, like the baseball players did, like that was like a community.
Well, they didn't have ATVs, you had to just drag.
No, we had a four-wheeler, but we
Oh,
had some dad who had a four, I mean, it was a different time, but.
Here's the other part of that though too, is, especially, softball's going okay, the flag football and that soccer is fine, but, the baseball association's about to fold.
Really?
Yeah, they're, all the members are pretty much done, except for one person, I don't know who it is.
The Hartford one?
Yeah, and they wanna move on because I talked to Foshan about it, and basically what happens is every year, a team gets sick of Humboldt over there, and then they come and they say, hey, we wanna play with you guys. Well, then this MINDAC conference has somebody from Humboldt on board and blacklisted Hartford. So Foshan's like, again, this year, one of my nephew's team thought about it, and Foshan was basically like, been there, done that, it's not gonna happen. Because dozens of teams have come to him and nobody ever pulls the trigger. So we've got 4 baseball fields that aren't being utilized as much as they could be too,
Well, there's 2 and 2. 2 of them are strictly softball.
Yes,
And
I'm
then
sorry,
the
yep.
other 2 are mixed use.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And right now, they're probably getting used for softball most of the time.
Yeah.
And
I
so
would
we're
say
still
so.
not having tournaments out there because there's no concession stand in bathrooms?
They did it, a couple years ago, they had some tournaments out there. I think the biggest thing is they don't like the facility, so I think when the bathrooms come, that'll help get them there. But it's hard to get all these teams and stuff, got different places they go every single weekend, and it's the same schedule every year. So now you'd have to try to get a tournament away from somebody else to get it started over here. At least drag some teams away from another tournament to get them here. And that's what the coaches and that stuff would have to get together and try to get some tournaments going. It'd take a little while to get them going. I think you'd get them. I think it's just gonna take a little work.
So I think we either have the park board reach out to them, or we try to set up a meeting and reach out to them. But we need to talk to the associations and just say, hey, what if? Because I gotta believe that these teams are all paying them so much to play, right? The associations, is that true?
You got the school that uses our fields.
Aren't they really? I mean,
It doesn't mean you're not paying for
The
it.
school,
Yeah, definitely.
the school uses our fields, we paint for them, we drag the fields for them.
We don't charge them
We don't charge them.
We don't charge them a
We're
thing.
not charging anybody.
So I think we need to at least have the conversation, either through the park board or through us.
One other thing I'd like to say about the additional parking out there that I heard in the past is that when they are using the far east fields, whether it's for flag football and that stuff, one of the biggest things is how do the elderly people get back there? They can't, they have to park there and try to walk all the way back there. If they could drive back there, they'd be able to, you'd probably get a few more people.
Where's that at?
Too.
On the east,
Yeah,
yeah,
Swansea
Swansea Park.
East side,
Yeah,
we start driving over there to the east side.
So,
Well,
we
that's-
haven't been, we trying not to get them to go.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
That's why they want that
back
parking.
and
I feel like we can keep spending, we can spend $500,000 a year out there forever.
Well,
we
the
can't find money for
conversation,
anything else
the
for.
conversation with Art and I got on here was, if these guys want it, that's back in the Hartford area, sports and rec, right? If these guys want it, circulate a petition, take it to a vote, let's get a $5 million bond or whatever it's gonna take. And let's just finish it. If you guys believe the community really wants that thing, and then that, kind of fell apart.
That's what we need to do.
And so then we're piecemealing it, $100, $200, $300, $400,000 a year instead.
But I wonder what we spent in the last 8, maybe we don't wanna know.
$1 million
I bet we have spent, I bet we've,
Over that,
have
I
we,
think.
since I've been on.
we've spent a lot of money out there.
By the time you put in those ball fields and all the grading and,
The grading project was, how much was that, 800?
800,000 alone.
I don't like the, we need more of this and just like no effort to help fundraise for it, or like, why can't they fundraise for something out there?
Right.
All right,
Well, to Jake's point, that's how the first pickleball court was paid for. So I mean, there's nothing that says the city has to budget that money, but the city would need to tell the Park and Rec Board that they have the permission to go out and request those funds. Right.
Fundraise and get sponsorships
Yeah.
and stuff.
I know a guy that can relay that message.
I feel like they should just start a GoFundMe
you know a guy.
and people would donate.
I feel, and I hate to say it wrong, but I feel like the park board, I mean, it's like, instead of asking for budget money, they should be able to raise the money to do stuff, so I'm getting from you guys. And
Yeah.
that's not what the park board is there for, is to help make decisions at the park.
Yeah.
What improvements should be done to different
So-
things.
Who's supposed to be raising money?
That's the thing, it's a Hartford park. What other government entity, what other department, we don't make the sewer and water go raise money. We don't ask the gals here to sell candy bars, to help keep the lights on in here.
We have that idea though.
Well, no, I mean, and where do you carry that logic to? Okay, I guess you got HADF, you got the chamber, and I guess they do have their own, they do all the raise, right? You have Envision, you have membership dues. Those are, it's not infrastructure, it's not city infrastructure, city property.
I'm not talking about maintenance though, but like, these are not small requests at the expense of other recreational opportunities in our city.
The thing is that those fields are just still not usable. Like, they're not, but I see this, and you see that point of, like, at some point, we're gonna get through this punch list. Like, City Park, very usable. I believe the bathroom is a really good ask on this side of the park. But anyway, when you get out there, if you got a kid in sports, I've been a while out of that, but no shade, no bleachers, no bathroom, inadequate parking, like, when I would have to go to a field like that, you just like, oh, gotta go to whatever, I gotta go to Lennox today, their facility sucks. You know what I mean? And like, it's a black eye in Hartford, and how many of those parents are coming here saying, God, I don't wanna play in Hartford, Hartford sucks. I gotta park a million miles
Destroy
away.
that land and sell it for industrial.
To your point, I'm kind of.
We planted trees.
To your point, we piecemeal so much stuff together. We got 114 feet of a 520-foot street paved and guttered. What? Really? We couldn't figure out a way to get the other 385 feet done?
Well, we didn't know about it.
Oh,
But you know what
you're
I'm
going
saying?
back to that, yeah.
It's like, so we did budget for 6 pickleball courts, but we're gonna see it every year for the next 3 years until we get them all done. It's like, at some point, you gotta bite the bullet on some of this shit. Check the box, move on, get on to the next thing.
I don't,
Yeah.
and maybe that's my irritation is like, I feel like it just goes from one big project to the next out there. Like, well, we can't do this because we don't have concessions, we don't have a building. We got that. Now it's unsafe, there's no park. Like, is it gonna, what's next year then?
I wouldn't say it's large or small projects. I wouldn't say it's large projects, I guess, but at the same time, like, okay, say we spend $400,000 out there. Well, we're gonna continue to spend $400,000 out there for the next 20 years, but because then it's just gonna replace year 21, and the foul poles are gonna be, you know, needed replacement, this. So I kinda agree with Travis, I mean, like, let's just do something and do it all at once, you know, I mean, but that's obviously tough to do, especially this year, so.
So the park boards sat down and they put together a CIP like the city does. We worked with them through it. And then we told them, okay, now go through your list and see what your priorities are, what you think would be the top thing to get done. So they all sat and discussed it, and that's where they came up with this year. I mean, there's a lot of things on their list, but they were just, as they went through it, they thought additional parking is really gonna be huge out there. You know, yeah, and they even said it too, looks like we're sticking everything in Swenson Park, you know? But really, what do the other parks need, you know, to finish up the pickleball courts? Turtle Creek, you know, maybe could use some small kids playground stuff out there. Maybe Lions Park could use that, and Lions Park, you know, needs a pool. But otherwise, Lions Park is established, it's done, it's for the most part, now that we're adding to it, it needs more. Turtle Creek was built cheap, and it's a nice established little park, you know?
Right.
It just, so when they went through the CIP, this is what they kind of came up with, what they thought would be the next moves for the city, you know, so.
Well, I get it, and I know there's a lot of use on certain nights, but there is just, you know, I think, and maybe it's not their problem how to figure out how to fund it, it's ours. So
But-
it's not that, but I just think about sustainability, and unless we all of a sudden are gonna have some magic funding, like how are we gonna keep up this park?
But we'll never get tournaments and we'll never get things going out there if we don't keep building it up and finishing it.
Right. Yep. But you don't have the temperament to bite the bullet. You need to put, you know, $6 million in it and finish it. So that's why we keep seeing $500,000 a year.
Well, I think if that's like the theory, then let's, you know, do this with Swenson Park, and then let's think about, is it a bond? Do we need to get a public vote for a pool? You know, or is it 15 years, because we're still finishing so we can get ball tournaments?
I think a vote with the pool is a good idea.
Take a little bit of pressure off of us trying to figure out how to finance it. Like if we want it.
Well, if we're gonna bundle that, so to speak, can we do that? Can we bundle park and rec expenditures into one massive vote?
That's kind of what you had before, was there's a money, it was kind of earmarked, but they have to go to you guys to release it for that project.
Right.
For general obligation.
Well,
I just don't
Well,
see how.
if we're talking, I thought you meant for this here part here, right here, but.
You're talking about if we go out for a bond, right?
Bond issue.
I think you have to tie it to a project. Yeah.
One specific, so we
Yes.
can't say Swenson Park.
You have to
and
explain the
swimming.
project, and yeah, I don't think you can throw a bunch of park improvements in it,
Well,
and
City Hall,
Can't say
new
city.
pool, new shop building.
City of Hartford Park Improvement Project and list all the park improvements that we wanna do.
I can double check with Tom, but I'm pretty sure it's got
So,
to be a project.
okay,
Can I ask another question?
yep, and then we're
Is-
gonna try to
is-
get back.
Is
to
there,
budget.
and
What we
is
asked.
it just the big projects that we have going on, like streetwise, and is that why our budget sucks so bad? Like, is that why we're so tight this year?
I think
Like,
we
I haven't read
added-
through this and had anything jump out at me like,
I think it's.
oh, this is the thing, F
Added
in the budget.
I think it's a lot of things, I think it's the added expenses.
Yeah.
It's the added loan payments that we
Yeah.
got, you know, we got.
Yeah, that factors
I
in,
mean,
right?
and it's the added sewer costs with keeping two systems going, I think it's a lot of, like you said, I don't think it's a huge there, but I think
Yeah,
it's a
just-
lot of little things.
I'm looking through this going, what the heck,
Accumulated,
you know, why
yeah.
is this so,
Well, that's
so
what we're looking at,
tight?
okay, so where do we cut down, but it's like, you need the boiler for the pool, you where
Right.
it's.
Okay, Mr. Mayor. sorry.
No, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. So, okay. If we're, I don't even know how to even say that. So if we increase our street maintenance fee, I agree we don't want to use all the stored CIP, I think we want to keep that the same.
So let's just start with that. Is everybody good with that? Because that's what we'll figure in.
Yes.
But we'll keep the middle of it the
So
same.
we're gonna
Okay.
figure that we're gonna increase our street fee. And the other things, like the additional charges like we talked, yeah, can we pick up a little bit of money from the sports authorities, so to speak? Some. That's not gonna probably cover enough. Another one I mentioned to Teresa today is, I'd like to know how many exact users we have of our yard waste dump. Okay, it's $16,000, but it's $16,000 that we spend every year.
I thought we had that down to about 11 one year. It's been a couple of years.
I think.
It's been running.
I think maybe that could have been the dumpsters we got down there, but then, you know, then we got employees sitting out there now, and then we got cameras.
Yeah.
And then you got this.
What would we say if we just had it open on Tuesdays and Saturdays?
Yeah, you can cut down the day, there you go.
And then charge the people that use it, they have to have a sticker in their window.
That's what I was
Like I say, and we
That's
talked about,
$100
let's
a
charge
year.
them to use it.
How much a year? 100.
Do we own those dumpsters?
No.
They're so small, and they're always overflowing, and it looks kind of messy.
Yeah, we can get
Maybe a
them
bigger
through Armias,
You can, but then trying to throw up this stuff up and over.
people trying
And
to.
you almost have to build a ramp.
And
I
sometimes
guess-
they're parked too close together, and you try to get a vehicle in there, and it was like, need more space.
I would look to the streets line item, if the residents on Kelly Avenue aren't asking, can we put that up another year? And the lights for the, that's $148,000 right there.
Right.
Yeah, we would just do those.
Yeah.
That's easy for me, I don't feel any pain drawing
I
next to that.
haven't had any issues with my computer. I use it like 4 hours a month.
Yeah, I would agree, I don't need a new computer.
Right.
Let's can that for 1 year, so all three of those things come off.
Do we need, Craig probably needs one, doesn't he, though?
Yes, and I did put his in the budget
Yeah,
because.
Okay,
So that's $150,000
These are
right
just
there.
yours, yeah.
That's $150,000 right there.
I would like, oh, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
I've been pretty quiet, so.
Yeah, surprisingly.
I know, I'm doing a really
Here it
good job
comes.
listening.
Here it comes.
Yeah, but listen,
I would be in favor of the street maintenance fee, but I think, and Travis kind of alluded to it with the dump, if we're gonna add, or I guess add this more taxation, I think that we need to have a serious question of what out of our existing budget can we actually cut back? So I look at, I mean, it's something, and I'm just looking at the possible items that are recommended, right? I mean, it's hard to say, okay, do you cut back police enforcement? I think that's important for the city, you know? Do you cut back, the park and rec program, like, do you make the kids pay to play? I think that's I think that is, I think that'd be completely acceptable to make, you know, to implement something like that.
I will tell you, just on that, a few years ago, when we had a director here, we did put out a survey to the citizens,
Yep.
asking them a question about that. Most everybody on that survey that responded said they would be willing to pay something for the park.
Yeah, so I
I
look
don't
at
think
that-
that would be a
Yeah, and-
heartburn to people.
No, I don't think it'd be a heartburn,
You
but,
can have the applications for use.
Right.
I look at,
$25
and I
or
know,
whatever.
I've had this conversation before, and I know, Mayor, you know, I think there is a benefit to the SMGA, right, especially being a part of what's going on.
Right.
But is that something that maybe the HADF can help, you know, these are small items, right? But all this stuff eventually adds up, we look, you know, like, it all does add up, right now we're running at a deficit, so.
why can't SMGA come out of their penny?
And that's what my thought is, if we do move it to the HEDF, it could come out of their penny. I
Yeah,
don't know
so-
if it's marketing per
So
se
then we
for
move their
the
budget
city.
up to 70, whatever, 60, whatever, I can't do my math right now,
You're on camera?
$67,000. I mean, I think we have to get somewhat creative, and I guess my challenge is always like, where can we cut things that we actually don't need? And I don't know necessarily the answer to that, I guess that's why I was voted on to figure out some of those things, but.
Well, as Teresa said earlier, these guys, I don't think that we have a ton of fluff in our budget. That's the scary part. I've looked through this deal a couple times, in the last 2 days, and I'm looking specifically for that. That's what I was looking for. is there something that just absolutely jumps out?
It's just a bunch of little.
Well,
And I'm telling you, I did not see anything that hit me over the head that said, holy crap, we can save 500,000 right here.
I would have liked to seen another 100,000 earmarked for the pool.
I'm afraid we're gonna take the 100,000 we already have in there to pay for the expenses of fixing it this fall. If you wanna know
I
my
agree, I would like to
truth.
put 100,000 down on
This
it.
is like, death by 1,000 cuts here. The
Um,
Boulevard Tree Program, I calculate we maybe have 40 participants, that's 6,000,
It's an expensive program.
Yeah.
You know, if we charge those people $50, because we maintain those trees in the boulevards anyway.
3 years.
Yeah.
For 3
Yeah,
years.
so if we charge them, yeah, you get a boulevard tree, but it's gonna cost you $50. How do you think that'd go over? I know, I'd pay $50.
Keep it in a nursery.
I know, I'd pay $50 to have somebody come plant a tree in my boulevard.
Yeah, I would too.
3 years.
Not the one that I already have.
Not the one that's in a bucket someplace.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
But
Out at Craig's place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, yeah, charge for some of these things.
so I calculate that might be an income of $2,000. Charge the teams $100 a team, you know, there's 10 kids on a team, right? It's $10 a kid. That's, in my opinion, that's not out of line.
$100 a team for,
To use our, soccer.
I think we need to
soccer,
talk with the
flag football
associations there, because I think they're probably charging. I gotta believe that they are, and if they are,
Oh, everybody use our
Yes.
facilities, the
we
team has to
gotta,
pay
we should talk to
$100,
them about that and say, hey,
in my opinion.
look at what we're doing.
Yard waste site, if we could get that down around, if we could try and figure out how to save $6-7 off of that deal.
I think 100's a little steep, but that's my personal opinion.
The people that use it are affluent. They can afford to bag their lawn.
You're not wrong.
Well,
Wow, that hurts.
Yeah.
I don't bag mine, but
But you think about that, $100 over the course of the summer per use, very minimal. Very minimal.
the problem is then anybody with a truck is gonna get asked, hey, will you come over and take my stuff?
Alrighty.
This, that, this, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
so,
It's just like many things, it keeps the honest people honest.
yeah, that's very true, so.
And we got a bulldog out there. And that guy,
oh boy.
I call him commercial plates and he knows who I am and he's like, what are you doing? Like, this is from my 502. My driver's license.
He came up to me the other day and said, where are you coming from? And I said, Partee, and, you know, and he says, okay. And I don't think he really knew. And I was like, well, I met you, I was outside the council with Travis the other day, and he goes, I don't mean anything. Let me go grab my ID.
I tell you what, the other side of that though is if you start charging, is I think we're gonna get more
Because
illegal
you're not paying the
dumping.
full cost.
And so you almost,
And you're still using.
you almost,
taxpayers' dollars.
you make money, you spend money to save money, because I think we'd have to put more, a better barricade up there, a better fence, a better
Yeah, I
something.
said they
Cause I've seen people through the ditch, up in there, you know, so it's kind of it's a horse piece. You know, you get,
what's this part-time building inspector? Okay, so this would
So
not be.
we pay for Paul Clark to still work for us, and we have Kyle as a split between us and Lennox. And if we didn't have Paul and theoretically, we could have Kyle working full-time and we wouldn't have any money coming from Lennox. I don't know how that would pencil out.
That's why I put, it's not really a cost savings. We could get rid of Paul Clark and save his salary is $13,500, I mean, which is minimal, but that would mean Kyle would have to be here full-time, and we wouldn't share with Lennox, so then we wouldn't get Lennox
So we need
payment, which
to
is almost
cost less.
40,000, so we'd be
Right.
going backwards with that. Yeah, so that isn't
Okay.
a cost savings.
Um,
And for this year, and I talked with both Paul and Kyle, for this year, I think we do wanna keep Paul on, just because the projects, Kyle has got his, commercial
Yep.
certification, he just hasn't had a lot of commercial projects come through. Now, he's working with Paul with the wastewater, I'd like to see that continue with Paul, just to make sure everything's good with that.
has he got into the school at all?
He's doing some with the school there. You know, get-go's gonna be next year. I think he's gonna have a lot more within the next year, commercial stuff, to get that experience, so at least through 2025, that's why I kept him in the budget.
Yeah.
It's a minimal cost for keeping there, and then we can evaluate it going forward.
Or we could ask him to work Paul Clark's hours on top of his current 2 part-time jobs.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Paul Clark doesn't work normal hours.
No, he just comes nights and Saturdays. And he's not here during the day because he's full-time Brandon.
Okay, so. I don't even know what I want to say.
So we were short,
We charge for the park rec program, $25 a kid.
I think it's a good start. I mean, I think you should pay to play. I don't know why I'm paying for that as a taxpayer when I don't utilize that. I mean, it's just, you know, probably a straw man argument,
same
but.
reason we're paying for Swenson Park and I don't use it.
Well, but this is, yeah, I mean, sure, same, I don't pay for your street, actually, I do pay for your street and I don't use it, right? I drive my golf cart on there a couple times a week.
A lot of kids do those club sports and they pay, you know, way more than $75.
I think my concern is just access, like I wouldn't want to
Well,
have kids that
that's what
can't
it's-
access it because we started charging a fee for something that's
Then-
$8,000 a year.
Then you can have those applications for reduced fees, like we do for meals.
Think of all that administration, I mean, I appreciate your thinking on that, then you have the administration.
Currently, how does that work?
I was gonna say,
Currently, how does it work to get kids signed up for those?
they just fill out an application form, you know, give them the
Can
kids'
we ask for a
information,
donation?
contact information, and that's really about it.
We should ask for a donation to that program
Right.
on the form.
Just ask for a donation, $25 for a child.
We're not gonna cut any. Possible.
Like, I'll just be honest, and I'm just speaking openly, like, I look at, and I don't know why hometown Christmas comes to mind. I would have no problem not giving them a damn dime, so that kids can go play in a park for free and, or say, you know, I'm just being 100% honest. Like, when I look
That's
at,
the one in Third Penny though, so it's not gonna impact.
I know,
us, but
yeah, well, I would rather use that third penny for,
You
I,
can't,
I think.
no, I would rather use that to fund, whether it's an HADF thing, because they're actually, I think
Actually, you're punishing the same kids.
what's
I
that?
think you're punishing the same group of kids. Same.
I haven't, it's nothing personal.
No, but I mean,
No, they go to
the
hometown
park and
Christmas.
rec, the kids that use the park and rec program, that we're asking them to potentially pay $25 to use that for two weeks in the summer.
It's a month.
It's for,
Yep.
yep. They want that $25. You get a daycare for $25 for a month. That's pretty, I mean.
That's pretty damn good, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's
But
a,
if you cut the Hartford Hometown Christmas, those same kids that are using that thing in the summer, look forward to that and to get maybe some trinket or some darn thing at the Hartford Hometown Christmas. That might be all they get for Christmas.
I'm not cutting either one.
I haven't, yeah, and you may or may not be right, but I hear what you're saying, you know? I would be of the opinion if the community wants hometown Christmas, to keep, you know, and I guess they have good donors, so that's,
Can we,
I'm not gonna die on that hill, I'll put it that way.
can we move SMGA to Third Penny and keep it under the city?
I think we can try that.
We do a lot of
We
stores.
talk
too.
public,
They call
we
Hartford
talk
on us, so they
public,
call us and do
private
that.
stuff a
We
lot,
bring
that's,
ads
that's
to
one
them.
that gets 2 to 1.
$1,000.
Private.
Yeah.
How you figure it in and plus all the
Where's
sharing it in the
It's
meetings.
$11,000.
Right here,
It's
$11,500.
not bad.
It's on this list.
So our number was, what's our number? I don't have the changes to the general fund.
For the general
92,
fund,
what
we're
were we
starting
Our deficit?
at a deficit of 92.4.
So with the 158,950, I'm doing old school math here, we're at $66,000 to the good. What are we're moving HAD, we're moving everything into that third penny, so Cindy math, that doesn't count, cause
I think
we've
you-
got money in that third penny.
You gotta do math the wrong way.
And that's not figured in budget yet anyway.
I would say that
Yeah,
92,000
Jamboree,
isn't figuring any of
hometown,
these ads.
It's negative 92,423, and
Starting
everything
out.
below that adds to that negative number.
No, but we found 158,950 right away, so now,
No, we didn't.
No,
we didn't.
because those weren't in these
Those
budgets.
these numbers aren't in this.
None of these
This,
considerations
these
are
numbers,
in.
this 158 is your
Everything below that red,
computer
that red number.
and,
thought
lights,
that
that's
was
not
already
in here yet.
Pretty much tonight, you're just gonna decide how much reserves you wanna spend.
Right, that's
That's
what
what's
it's
coming
gonna
down to.
come down to.
Well, really, our best and quickest, makeup is to go from $1.50 to 2, that gets us 74,000. Right?
Yep.
So if we're gonna try to eliminate the 90, because we know, well, so 92 is actually add on 113,000, so we're actually 200 and something, because the fire department and ambulance is gonna come out of there,
Yeah.
right? We're gonna fund those two. That adds to the deficit right there. So if we're 92,000, put another 113 on there, it's,
200,000.
and,
100, how much?
113,625.
206,025.
So we're 206 deficit is what we have to, if we're gonna try to cover the whole deal, that's what we got. That's what we gotta come up with.
And we're coming up with how much from the street?
74,000 from the street approximately. And some of this other stuff might get us to 100,000. Then the only other one that I see that's really can get us sizable money is if we say, let's reduce our hours from 100 to 90 on the nighttime deputy, that gets us 22,000.
I don't wanna tell people we're doing that.
I don't either.
No, and I would not be in favor, I mean, I would be in favor of cutting a number of other things.
What are they?
Well, I mean,
Do we need 25
I-
for wastewater regionalization, or can we cut it to 10?
and I think they're having that meeting this week, that's why I'm curious, what are these other communities gonna cough in? But like, you know, when I look at the chamber and HADF, do I want both of those? Yes. Can we, I don't wanna say negotiate, but, you know, are those, I guess this word gets a little confusing. 'Cause
Okay,
those
those
Chamber and
are-
HADF are not
third
my
penny.
concern.
That's
It's
not,
not hurting.
it's things that aren't coming out of the third penny.
Right.
Let's
Right.
go
That
for
we're
the-
trying
Motion
to,
approve any of those, and they're off the table, we can
Right.
eliminate them, not talk about them anymore. When it comes down to just the park board, what do you
There
want
you
to do
go.
with the park board?
I don't think we should give any money to the park board. Cause I think we're running at a big budget, or, I think we're running.
Let's
at
make
a-
some motion of what to take out of the third penny.
Let's do the
Then
things
we
you know you wanna do.
Do the things you know you wanna do, then we can move forward from there.
All right, I make a motion to budget $55,590 for the HADF come out of the third penny sales tax.
Second.
Any discussion on that one? Hearing none, we'll vote. Jazz?
Yes.
Barons?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Horn?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Mattson?
Yes.
All right?
Motion, I move to budget $15,000 for the chamber to be paid for with third penny sales tax.
Second. Or I mean, somebody want to second that?
I'll second.
Not me, I was asking for a second. I wasn't seconding it myself.
I know what you're gonna.
Sounded like a second.
Sounded like a second.
Everybody understand that? Any discussion? Man, I'm gonna start getting punchy. Move down. We'll vote. Mattson?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Horn?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Barons?
Yes.
Jazz? All right, go Travis.
I move to budget $10,000 for the hometown Christmas to be paid for with third penny sales tax.
Second.
Any discussion?
I would, like to see that at 7,000. There's my discussion.
Okay. The motion's 10, right?
I think that
Yes.
every other organization has asked for less other than them. To Travis's counterpoint, they've always stayed the same, so I appreciate that insight, but every other organization has asked for less. And they made it very clear that they can operate with less. I think 7,000 or 7,000 or 8,000 is a fair number to chip away at that. There's my discussion points.
All righty, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Jazz?
Yes.
Barons?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Horn?
Yes.
Bowen?
Nope.
Mattson?
Yes.
All right, next.
Move to budget $5,000 for the Jamboree Committee to be paid for with third penny sales tax.
Second?
Any discussion on that one? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mattson?
Yes.
Bowen?
No.
Horn?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Barons?
Yes.
Jazz?
Yes.
All right,
I move to budget 11,000, HADF, or the, SMG money.
It's 11, 5,
11,500,
16,
1625, to be paid for with third penny sales tax.
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Jazz?
Yes.
Barron?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Horn? Yes. Bowen?
Yes.
Mattson?
Yes.
Move to increase our street maintenance fee from $1.50 per foot to $2 per foot.
Second.
Hold on, that's coming up.
Actually, that's
Can't do
gonna be
that?
on our next city council agenda.
Okay,
So
so
yeah,
rescind
so we can
that.
automatically do that.
Okay, all right, rescind.
I rescind my motion.
Okay,
I'll say, I will just figure the budget ordinance to have that in
Okay.
it. We'll do that.
yeah, okay. Okay, now, let's,
We can just eliminate the park rec program.
Yeah.
Maybe $800 savings.
Does it say, is it a bad time to ask for me to get paid for those meetings?
Yes, yeah.
it's not a bad time to ask, might be a bad time to get it.
Like, heal one of the schools.
Okay, hold on a second. So, now we're getting some of this stuff cleared off, but do we have to have, you don't expect everything 100% to be approved tonight, or did you?
Well, you have to have 2 readings of the ordinance, so I can come with first reading at our meeting on Tuesday, but you're gonna have to have decisions by then, because by second reading, it's gotta be finalized,
When do we have to have that into the,
October 1st.
okay.
So if you
So
come
unless we have a
with,
special meeting.
if you come with first reading, we could make changes, but then do we have to vote twice more after that, or can we
No, you can vote.
make the
one.
changes to first and vote on second and make them?
Right.
Because I would like to think about some of these yard waste and the rec program, you know?
Well, let's get some feedback maybe from people that are.
Yeah.
Jerry, we can talk to some of the, even with the food trucks.
But you
we
can do
talk-
some of that stuff at a later, you don't have to.
We can change our revenue sources at any time, those are ordinance
That's it.
changes, right?
These suggestions, you can change these at any time. I
That's
mean,
good.
you just know that the ordinance, you're gonna have so much in reserves showing use. But whether you actually use them will all depend on if you implement some of these other
Right.
changes,
Yeah.
Right.
so.
Okay.
Okay.
But just, my point is, this year, like last year, we're gonna add to our reserves despite a deficit budget.
No, we won't add to our reserves because we're starting off with negative at 30.
No, this current year,
talking
your
24.
Oh, yes,
projection
yes,
at the end of the year.
2024
We
year.
did a deficit
Yes,
budget
yes.
this year, but we will add to our reserves this year
Yes.
based on forecast, the same way we added to our reserves in 2023.
Yes, 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 we were in deficit the last 2 years, yep.
I would like to.
Just for all you negative Nellies out there, I know the budget's one thing, but
Yes,
it's a
our
projection.
reserves are healthy, so I mean, basically,
Yeah, those-
we can show that we're using reserves, and we do have that money in reserves if it comes down to it, but if you implement any of these changes, that'll be less reserves you're using, yeah, so.
A motion to budget, $23,625 for the Humboldt ambulance to be paid out of the, general fund.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mattson?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Horn?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Barron? Jazz?
Yes.
Okay, so for Hartford area fire and rescue, do we want to include that 55,000 for the equipment replacement? Or do we want to sit on that and maybe talk to Brian and find out, and confirm that he's got the money?
I think he's gonna tell you what you're counting on.
Us putting it in our piggy bank and drawing interest on it.
Yeah. That benefits all of our interests.
2.6%.
I don't think you can do that.
Better than none.
Be half a
0.0%.
percent.
Great question, all right.
But we could ask.
I think it's worth asking.
My belief would be they'll want to continue an equipment fund just by having a new fire truck.
Well, absolutely, I agree, but, I think, you know, from what he said earlier, he's got the funds to make that purchase.
Oh, yeah.
If we take this year off, I don't plan on doing that every year, but, you know, just to make ends meet this year. If we hold off, I don't know how that works, so.
I mean,
Or we could cut 10 grand off that and give them what they asked for last 2 years.
I move to budget $80,000 for the Hartford Fire and Rescue.
Second.
Any more discussion?
I would say, I mean, I have a hard time cutting a budget for what I consider a necessity, an absolute, but I guess, you know, I'm not saying that you guys don't think it's a necessity, so I wanna preface it with that. But, without knowing the inner workings of the fire department, I think I'm gonna trust what they were asking is a conservative enough amount, and I would have a really hard time, like I said, cutting a necessary service, not just for this city, but for this county.
We specified in the motion that we're not cutting their budget, we're moving the $35,000 for their budget, but we're moving the future funds that we're allocating to 45 instead of 55, so we're not actually cutting the budget.
Okay.
We're cutting money we're saving for the future for them.
They can
That'd be a
decide
good-
how they wanna allocate that 80.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true. And I wouldn't mind having that conversation anyways with Brian before the next meeting. And, I mean, we can amend it at that point or whatever too, so.
Because ultimately, at the end of the day, if they come to us and they need a piece of equipment, like he said, you know, whether they hold their hand out for 250,000 or, you know, 550,000, the city funds.
Right.
So we wouldn't hold on, if we just give them 80, then they can come and get the whole 80s, we wouldn't hold on to anything. Is that, I just wanna make sure
I'm
we're
not gonna
all.
ask them how they spent it, or where they spent it.
Obviously.
I mean,
Well, the difference is
down
we've been
front.
holding on to that amount
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah, that 50,000 would be an account that we hold.
Oh, yeah, currently, that's how
Right.
it's been.
Yes.
That's how it's been worked, but
Yes.
they need to tell us how much of that they want for their budget, for the operating budget, and how much they want of that 80 to go into that fund.
I'm good with that. We can always look at it at next meeting too.
Yeah, I think when you look at overall, you know, with the payment for the building and a $90,000 ask a year, that's only $170,000 a year for year-round fire and first responders. I mean, I don't think it's a lot personally, but
Okay, so we got a motion and a second for 80 with just 80.
I'll piggyback on that. They got pretty good, healthy P&L, unlike Humboldt. Humboldt didn't ask for any more. So maybe a shame on Humboldt.
All right, any more discussion, comments? Okay, we'll vote. Jazz?
Yes.
Barons?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Horn?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Mattson?
yes.
Okay. Okay, so Park and Rec Board, what do we wanna?
I don't suppose we can approve half of the parking lot? Is there any way to make that less?
I didn't design it.
It's already half-assed, though, let's be blunt. They're gonna have to get a conditional use permit to put a gravel parking lot in, because our city ordinance says it should be paved.
And
Already
really,
gravel.
we wanna get, we would just soon see the pickleball.
It's already
courts
gravel.
first
Gravel
ones
at the
get
dog
built,
park.
Well, it's
right?
not gravel, it's grass.
No, I mean,
Oh.
the other parking out there's all
Oh.
gravel.
Hey, the one at the city park, when that gets improved, is it gonna be paved?
It's
When
not
it gets
budgeted.
expanded?
It's already done.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Gravel.
Gravel.
It's expanded and it's gravel?
Yeah. It was that size before, and then it got shrunk because kids are doing new walls on it.
What
So
are-
it just keeps changing.
So there's new bathrooms in there, but what are we doing with what's sitting there?
Tear it down.
Yeah, go
Do we need money for that? Are we moving over
Infrastructure's
it? What are
on
we
the-
doing?
I think the plan was to demolish what's there because they're not usable and erect a new one.
Put,
In the same spot, and that's
Yeah.
It'll be
that.
shifted slightly, but yeah, the same
Or are we
area.
gonna have to come up with more money to demolish and
no, it's,
Okay, so just
to get rid of it wouldn't take much.
It's already in the city budget.
We could tie right onto that sewer too, couldn't we? Yeah.
water and sewer both right there. We're just gonna put 2 little ADA.
It's not some old cast iron line that
multi-use.
is undersized and now the new low flow toilets in the new restroom won't work and then we'll have to go in and mow them out and line them, we don't have
Got
some
the wrong
crazy expense
pipes,
like that.
the wrong-
Honestly, I mean,
Haven't torn it down yet.
honestly, I don't know where we're at on this whole deficit deal after the motions, but that being said, I want everything on there, of course, but, to me, the restroom and the refurbished the playground equipment is probably the most important to me, just from sitting on that. I don't know if they would agree necessarily, but that playground equipment, the problem with that is, you know, we can rope off areas and close it down, but then it's just kind of an eyesore as well. I'd rather just fix it and do it right from the beginning, I guess. I don't know if we wanna spend any more than that, you know?
So, serious question, have we planted trees up at Swenson Park? Do we have trees planted
There's a few around the ball field, which was a grant.
for shade someday?
I mean, there's a few here and there. They're just hard to get established out there, so with all the wind.
Cause I assume those shade structures will be replaced every 2 to 3 years.
Well, you were talking about building something a little bit more
Well, at
permanent.
the dog park, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, at Swenson Park, we were looking at that mesh stuff.
you were, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So what would be?
We'll move the budget $2,500 for 2 shade structures at the dog park.
Second.
Oh, we gotta do these one at a time.
Well, that's one way to get through them.
How do you eat an elephant, right?
I'll second.
We already got two.
Appreciate it, Joe. All right.
So we got a fourth. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mattson?
Yes.
Bowen?
No.
Horn?
Just to clarify, this is the dog park.
Dog park, 2 shade structure.
Okay, no.
Keel?
Yes.
Barrett?
Yes.
Jazz?
Yes.
Okay, so did that go 4-2? Did that
Oh.
count, right?
Yes.
Actually, I'm gonna change mine to abstain. I apologize.
Why, because you sell that equipment?
No, no.
You're on the board.
Park and Rec.
Yeah, naming rights to our dog park.
Yeah.
So,
So you gotta think more.
I just wanna ask you guys a question and see what you think. So what's to say we bundle and say, give them not maybe their full 60 for the Swenson Park ball field improvements, give them the 10 for the playground equipment, and give them the 27 for the pickleball court. So say we give them
You're saying the new restroom?
pickleball restroom, excuse me, restroom. Restroom is what I meant. 27, 37, say we give them 70,000 or something for those 3 items.
Remind me what the ball field improvements were, I know I read
It's
it.
shade structures, bleachers, concrete, foul poles on 4 fields.
They wanted 60 grand for that.
They wanted 60, and I'm saying we're probably not gonna
Plus
give them.
another 10 for shade structures? Oh, that's near.
10 for the, no, 10 for the,
Got it.
and I didn't figure that, I didn't add that one in, but we could probably add the, so,
Motion to budget $80,000 for ball field improvements, refurbished playground equipment, and shade structures near the playground at
Second.
Swenson Park.
and the restroom, no.
No, that's just the Swenson Park, I just carved those 3 things out of Swenson Park.
60, 10, and 10.
Yep.
Okay, did we get a second?
Yes.
Cindy seconded that. Any discussion on those? Hearing none, we'll vote. Jazz?
Sorry, guys, just a minute here.
No, that's fine.
No.
Barons?
Yes.
Keel?
Yes.
Horn?
Abstain.
Bowen?
No.
Mattson?
Yes.
Okay, how did that one go then?
Failed.
That did
Failed.
not pass.
Failed.
Okay?
Motion to budget 20,000 for Swenson Park, refurbished playground equipment and shade structures.
Second.
For what?
Just,
So-
Swenson Park to refurbish the playground equipment and the shade structures.
Okay,
Those two $10,000
and
items.
Lisa, you second that?
Sure.
Okay.
I did.
Oh, Jim did, sorry. Okay, sorry. Any discussion on that one? All right, we'll vote. Mattson,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yes.
Horn,
Abstain.
Keel,
Yes.
Barons,
Yes.
Jazz.
Yes.
Okay, that passed. Okay,
Motion to budget $27,000 for the city park new restrooms.
Second.
2 seconds on that. Any discussion?
I would say, I'm just, once again, yes for discussion, I would
Yes.
say no, just because, there is a nice restroom, I know it's a little bit of a walk, I know that there is probably a need for a restroom there eventually, but we have a nice facility, probably 70 yards away. We're running a deficit right now, so I'd love to save some money, so there's my discussion point.
Awesome. Thank you. Good point. Anything else? We'll vote. Mattson,
Yes.
Bowen,
No.
Horn,
Abstain.
Keel,
Yes.
Barons,
Yes.
Jazz.
These are so hard, you guys.
They really are.
Especially when he has to abstain from everything.
I look at these.
You're off the park board.
If you think it's expensive today, wait until tomorrow.
I'll vote yes.
Okay, yes.
I wanna make a motion to remove him from the park board before we continue.
For 24 hours. For 24 hours.
I make a motion to approve 30,000 for Swenson Park ball field improvements. They can choose which ones they would like to use.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion on that one?
I'm gonna say no, it seems like it's a money dump right now, and maybe that's because we don't have the facilities out there. I know there's a lot of politics with some of these baseball associations. And once again, it's becoming it is becoming a very, very expensive eyesore.
Well, it's not really an eyesore.
Well, there's no
Ours
trees
looks
out
pretty
there.
nice.
There's no trees. There's no playground equipment, there's no restrooms.
There will be, there will be.
Looks like a Lynx
Well, no,
course.
thanks you, Sean.
There's no trees, it's like a Lynx course.
Yeah, it's like a links,
It's like-
there we go, let's turn it into a links course, a freaking 3-hole, par 3, that will
All
generate
right.
more revenue
Hold
than
on.
that, no, hold up here, that's
All right.
that, I like that idea. I would say no, I mean, at some point in time, we have to put the brakes on this thing.
Yeah.
Go vote,
At
Mayor.
some point in time, we have to say, you know what, the shit's nice to have, but we're running a
All right.
deficit.
I hear you. You're.
We're running a
My
deficit.
vote is kind of gonna depend on what we do with the parking, because I don't want to take away from the parking lot.
I don't think we're gonna do anything with the parking, because we don't have money.
Okay, we have call a vote, we're gonna vote. Jazz,
Yeah.
Barons,
Yeah.
Keel, Horn, abstain, Bowen,
Nope.
Mattson.
Yes.
Okay, did that one pass?
What's our deficit now?
We're at, so we started 92 in the hole. I added 74,000 back on if we increase the straight maintenance fee. I added 11,560 back on because SMGA was in that 92 deficit,
Right.
so we'll
Yeah.
gain that back.
Perfect.
And then I reduced it for the dog park, shade, shelters, 2,500. Playground refurbish and shade structure, 20,000. Restroom, 27,000, and ballpark improvements, 30,000. And then the ambulance and the Hartford area fire department.
And what's that give you for a total?
So we are going to have to take just about 189,988, so just about 190,000 out of reserves
Right now.
right now. And
That's
then if
about-
you implement any of those other savings, then that'll just
That's about how much we put
reduce
in.
that.
And that's about how much we're running over budget.
Yeah, but we got some other things to vote after, guys.
Oh, like what?
Well, fine, well, I guess we did vote on the new computers.
But we also have
Did we-
more
we
revenue
didn't vote
options.
on
Nope, we eliminated that.
Oh, I think I said we should scratch it, I use mine 4 hours.
So we just
Well,
scratched it, yeah.
6 hours a month now.
I think we decided engineering for Kelly Avenue can wait.
That can wait,
The
lights can wait, and computers can wait.
You wanna
That's
do with
really
regionalization?
I think we're gonna wait on
I
that
would
till
like to
after
wait until,
Wednesday.
yeah, after that meeting.
Yeah, that's a good idea too.
All right, I think what else?
Parking lot.
Or you said park and rec?
Parking lot.
Oh,
That's
okay.
all I kind of tried to get,
Number one on the
hoping
list.
somebody'd make a motion.
I would make a motion to, no, I'm just kidding. I was gonna,
Kick me off.
It's like doing a
to
street
kick
that's
you off the
further
park,
away.
kick you off the park board.
You get this field out there and then there's nowhere for anybody to park. It's like, what's the city doing? They look dumb.
It is totally, I mean, nobody wants to spend that money, but I will say, like, at least you get to see it. We spend all this money on wastewater treatment facility and you don't see the underground.
Yeah, but that actually provides a real
Let's think about it this
need.
way.
Baseball's
I agree.
not a
In
need.
the event we have a big snow year, Craig won't have to ask, property owners around Hartford if the city can dump snow on their land, because they'll be able to dump it on the new parking lot on its Swenson Park.
Yep, and then we can bring the street sweeper in and just sweep up all the gravel.
I think it needs to get done. I think we've got money in reserves. I would make the motion to do the $215,000 for additional parking at Swenson Park.
Second.
Any discussion?
No way. We are, I mean, I'm just gonna keep beating,
Go
the floor is open for discussion. I have the full ability to, but we are running 190,000 into reserves. I think, I would agree, it's nice to have out there, but at what point, once again, do we put the brakes on constantly dumping in money to this thing?
When it's done.
Yeah, but it never will be done, you know?
Next year,
Because the
Sean,
next
next
ask
year.
will be a sprinkler system out there. There'll be an irrigation system.
But then they can have a revenue income with the fields.
There's-
Teams walk home there.
Okay, but, yeah, revenue income, $100 a team, and 10 teams, you got 1,000, I'm just saying.
Let's stick to today's problem.
Yeah,
I would,
hold up here. I think we can all agree that this is a need, but I'm gonna bring it back to, we're dealing with taxpayer dollars. If I'm running a deficit in my personal budget, I watch what I'm spending. I spend on things that are needs, and I don't, and maybe it is a need out there, maybe I'm crazy. I think that there is a need, but I don't know that we have the money to
I'll
do it.
make a,
Account.
did you save last year?
Yeah, I mean, of course,
At home?
yeah, I saved, yeah,
So if you need something this year, that's what it's there for.
right.
We saved last year,
What did we save last year?
I don't know.
But we didn't save last year, to put in park, or to put in, I mean.
We budgeted-
Maybe you didn't save it, but I
About
would.
300,000.
About 200,000, I think, in the
I guess would there be any consideration from the council, kind of what we've done? I'm just throwing this out there with the fire department, where we put this money into an account. And this is a big expense, this is $250,000, and everybody knows, this shit's probably gonna be more expensive than what they're budgeting. And maybe not,
Well, the thing is, the park board has to come to you guys to release money.
I know how that goes though.
Yeah, So.
Because what's gonna happen is we have this budgeted.
Yeah, they'll get numbers on it and see,
Yep.
you know.
I would be curious if there's any interest from the council to do a less thing, but to put it into an account for them or earmark this
We
money.
had that for a while. We had the Hartford area sports and rec.
Can we move that $100,000 from the pool thing and put it in there?
I don't know if we wanna do that.
I'm just kidding, I'm not gonna upset the
I'll
apple
have to use that to pay.
Somebody might find you floating in the pool.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just comfortable with being at 3.5 million at the end of the year and having people have a safe place to park. In a surplus, right? We've got savings. And this year is tight because of the projects going on. We've got the remediation on the whatever. We've got extra expenses that we're not gonna have the following year. I think our budget will be a little bit more, I'm hopeful that our budget's a little bit easier to come around on next year.
Yep.
But I feel like it needs to get done, which is why I made a motion, which I said.
I tell you what would support a lot of decisions by this board when it comes to Swenson Park, is if we could see some real numbers. It's always this pie in the sky, there's X number of people using it, you know, there's X number of cars out there, we've got no car counts, we've got no.
I did have car counts at this spring earlier. Just during the ball season itself,
Okay.
not with this flag football and all
Okay,
that.
right.
I've only got one counter left and that's up on.
That's up next year.
Where's that
It looks like you need a budget for more counters.
Next year.
He's getting them.
All right, okay, we're getting on,
Motion
okay.
and a second.
Any other discussion? Thank you, Sean, though, for your points.
Yeah.
It's not going unheard, I want you to.
Oh, I know that. I mean, I'm a loud talker.
All right, we good?
What
I
do
appreciate
you
your
mean?
perspective.
Yeah.
Let's vote. All right, Mattson.
Yes.
Bowen.
No.
Horn.
Abstain.
Keel.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Jazz.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we need to vote on the mill levy that we're accepting?
Well, I have that figured into the budget.
Okay,
We're good on that.
Once we approve the budget.
If you wanted to change it, then,
That's what I was, yeah. If we
If
wanted
we're
to
good
do
with
to
what we have,
5.24 or something.
then that's what I'll
Okay,
figure
gotcha.
into the ordinance.
Okay, nope, just making sure.
So Karen, we're at about a $405,000 deficit.
Yep,
That's what I-
just under. The third penny will end about 12,000 to the good. The water
This is a
fund
great
was at
marketing
148 to the good, and the sewer fund was negative
All right.
to start.
Great marketing opportunity for the chamber. Come to Hartford, we're running a deficit, we need your money.
Or the HA, you have to come buy some land.
Do we have any reason for anything going into exec?
No, but all joking aside, like, we need to have a real conversation about fundraising. What does it look like? How do we do it? Who does it? You know, and then also maybe for the users of that complex, at least to replace or upgrade non-necessities. Fine, the parking lot is on us, but
I'd agree.
bases, you know, just, I don't know what we need. New nets for pitching, the bullpens, I mean, I don't know.
I don't think it's any different, and I agree with that. I don't think it's any different than what Hometown Christmas does, or, let's say Jamboree Days, they go out to local business. I mean, I think that is a good starting point.
But we'd have to kick the Hartford Area Sports and Rec Committee back in the butt, not the Park and Rec Board.
Right.
I agree.
Right.
But even for the city, so like you talked, we have to find a committee to fundraise, there's no city support of how we fundraise for a pool or something like that.
I will say I had a good conversation with Adam Young, who I think helps out with football, right? And he mentioned that one of their guys, I can't remember his name, Kyle, who's involved in that league, works for Nana Sports. So that could be a pretty good opportunity there where, you know, he probably knows how other communities have raised money, have done those types of things, so, geez, that's cool. I'm in trouble. So, yeah.
All right, hold on, Amy had one comment.
So regarding the sports complex, so 30 total teams signed up for 2024 Hartford Area Softball Association. 16 teams are Hartford/Tri-Valley teams, 12 players per team with 2 coaches. Games see anywhere from 3 to 4 people per player. So that's the extent of it, because there's no real tournaments, but that's kind of your numbers that you can gauge right now.
Yeah, there you go. Sure. Can that find its way to our next council meeting?
Sure.
Perfect. Just, yeah.
How many teams were there?
30 total.
But then if you could, those traffic counts that Greg had mentioned too, I don't remember, maybe they're in the.
And maybe it's like a league fee or something, maybe it's not per team, you know, maybe if they got a league, they're playing out there, there's
I think an
some.
association, because we know the softball association uses it, the baseball, the soccer, and we don't know how many teams they have under them, how many coaches or kids or whatnot, but if you charge each association X amount of dollars, then they'd be paying for the maintenance and the upkeep of
And it can all go, I mean, they
And you
can
can
follow,
utilize it.
they can follow that budget line back into parking rec to Swenson Park. I mean, that's the point, not to
Right.
collect money to do something
I
else.
think they would work pretty collaboratively with us on that as well. You know, I don't think we're not in it to just make it unaffordable for somebody to play a sport, but also, you know, $10 a kid
No, but
isn't the end of the world.
All right, anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.